6 o'clock. Good morning out here at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park for another day of Titans training camp. I am Robert Walsh. Like I said, back out here at training camp after a chippy first day in pads. Brian Callahan spoke to the media about the tension, and he was unbothered by the melee.
It is what it is. Like, it's football. I don't mind guys setting a tone with the intensity ramped up. And we just got to understand that we can play to the edge and we can still play within the rules. And fighting's a penalty. It's usually an ejection. It hurts our team. We can't have that. I think they're all aware of that, and that's essentially what the message was in that huddle.
DJ Moore and the Bears have reached an agreement on a 4-year, $110 million extension, includes $82 million guaranteed. DJ Moore now had the first 10 years of his career fully guaranteed. He is the first wide receiver in NFL history to do so. His 4-year, $110 million extension with Chicago is the largest deal in Bears franchise history. Some injuries from around the league to keep you updated on. Steelers rookie wide receiver Roman Wilson, who impressed early in camp, suffered an ankle sprain in practice yesterday. To the Lions were veteran defensive end John Kaminsky out indefinitely with a torn MCL. And former Titan news. If you missed Anthony Ferguson getting signed by the Jets, that's something that happened yesterday. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans of the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone!
Wednesday morning at Tennessee Titans training camp. A very good morning to you wherever you begin your day around the Music City and around the world. This is Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW 104.5 The Zone, with Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh and Kirby Allen Kirby on site. Reed Smith is our producer back at the 104.5 The Zone studios, 615-737-1045. A lot to react to on and off the field yesterday at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Rhett Bryan at Titans Radio at 7 o'clock. Titans coordinators speaking to the media live at 8. And some live practice observations throughout the morning. Beautiful day here in Metro Center. Good morning.
It's a good morning, and guess what? I'm already putting it out there. Good vibes only today. I actually had a shirt I was about to wear today after yesterday. In its whole yesterday.
I don't know if that's up to us.
Can go in the trash can. And I'm not just talking about just specific things here. I mean, Twitter was a mess. Everything was kind of to the next level yesterday. So good vibes only today. I'm excited for a new day of practice.
Hey, that's why it's hump day today, right?
Oh, it is hump day, isn't it?
Getting through it,
Hump
making
day?
it happen, man. Wednesday, we're out here. Cutting yards and everything today.
Can people hear you?
Yeah, I know.
I did at first.
Am I talking to Will's
You were low.
mic?
There it is.
Hey,
Perfect.
now
There
we're
she
back.
is.
We got you.
Maybe a lot of people didn't want to hear me anyway. So, I mean, it is what it is, right? But I had to turn it up a little bit there. That's the baritone we was looking for, right?
Well, nobody can walk up to you today and yell mean things at you if nobody can hear you.
This is very true.
You can say whatever you want about Jeffery Simmons as long as it's not on Twitter, and he won't confront
If it's
you.
We're
not on
back at
Twitter.
ground zero, man. We're back at ground zero. And, I missed it. But, hey, we're here. We'll discuss that, I'm sure, today also.
We will, absolutely. Lots happening yesterday at practice where the defense once again was on top of the offense. We will get into our observations from yesterday. Looking forward to hearing Nick Holtz and Denard Wilson as they meet with the media this morning to begin hour 3 at 8 o'clock. But, guys, between on and off the field, I think the theme yesterday, to steal a Mike Vrabel phrase, was dumb bleep to hurt the team. Because there was a lot of dumb bleep to hurt the team. In between the whistles and after the whistle underneath the tent where we're sitting right now, as Jeffery Simmons went pretty much totally viral for yelling words that I'm sure many of you have already heard on social media to Buck Rising.
Yeah, he did, man. Attitudes and tension and a lot of spite was high yesterday, I feel like. The practice field, okay, I can deal with that. I live with that 10 days out of 10, okay? It doesn't matter as it pertains to the field, because the thing about it is coaches will go put all of that action up on the film and tell guys how dumb it was and why they can't have and allow that and how tired you're going to be going into the next drill. The idea that you can get hurt, you can hurt your teammates. We're all on it. Like, I can give you all the cliches that the coaches are going to say, but I would also be of the mindset that I think some of the coaches enjoyed some of that too yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was partially necessary, and that may sound dumb. Ramon, you're fighting your own teammates. Yeah, but more times than not, those types of things happen. I'm not sure about other sports, but there's always tension in sports where there's physicality that happens. You know what I'm saying? Like basketball, I've heard runs say that time and time again. Football, I know it happens there. And baseball, I've seen guys get upset in that sport with each other and for their teammates. These types of things happen. So I'm not going to be holier than thou, because I've been a crap starter myself. I have been in a situation where not famously, ain't that many famous people held around it, but me and Bud Dupree, we got into a very heated exchange. Myself and Arthur Moats, myself and Cam Hayward.
Bud Dupree, whom you recruited to be a Tennessee Titan.
That's what I'm saying. And one of my good friends to this day, date night with this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is all a part of it. And I'm not minimizing the situation, but what I'll say is this: we'll grow deeper into Jeffery Simmons and Buck Rising and Jeffery Simmons and his teammates, Peter Skoronsky, J.C. Latham, all the guys that were involved, Arden Key. I've seen Ryan Clark and Antonio Brown get into it. I've seen Ike Taylor and Antonio Brown throw fisticuffs, like helmet off.
Antonio Brown's a common denominator.
It was a common thing right
I don't know if I want Jeffery Simmons to be like Antonio Brown. I'm going to be honest with you.
But what I'll say is this: Troy Polamalu is in that conversation, and Ryan Clark will be here at one of the open practices in the middle of August, and he was a guy that recently did a podcast explaining all things that went down around that fight. And I'll never forget, even Ryan Clark, we want to speak about guys off the field energy, right? Ryan Clark and Stephen A. Smith. You can look that one up where Ron Clark told Stephen A. Smith, when I see you, it is on sight. And Ron meant that. So much so that Stephen A. reached out and said, hey, we need to talk and have a conversation. And that got very, very, very personal. And Ryan Clark meant every word that he said about that. You can find that audio of him threatening Stephen A. and how it unfolded after that. But I'll say this, too. That type of stuff was good for both parties, if I can be honest.
You think yesterday was good for Jeffery Simmons?
Yes, I do.
The off-the-field stuff that happened with Buck Rising?
I do.
No.
So let me chime in on the practice stuff. We can save the Buck Rising stuff for later.
I do.
But when it comes to the practice field, I'll say this about whether or not you thought Brian Callahan should kick him off the field after the first fight. We asked Brian Callahan. Callahan gave us the answer of he didn't think it was necessary. Brian Callahan's the head coach. This is his first year as a head coach. He's learning a lot of these players. So in that situation, I'm not going to sit there and try to say that I know what's best for this team. Like, this is a brand new team. He's trying to build relationships with these players. So what he did is his call. I also went and did the due diligence of asking players yesterday after practice what they thought about it. And on the offensive side and defensive side, they loved it. So those are coming from players. Those are not our, comments or people who are out here covering the team. And yeah, is it in the past we've seen with Mike Vrabel, like, not tolerated? In the future, may it be he's knocked out after the first fight? Sure. But in this situation, first time, first day in pads, emotions running high, I don't have an issue with him not being kicked out when it was all said and done.
Here's the audio that Kayla's referring to. Brian Callahan, talking with the media yesterday, gives his thoughts on the fights in yesterday's practice.
It is what it is. Like, it's football. I don't mind guys setting a tone with the intensity ramped up. And we just got to understand that we can play to the edge and we can still play within the rules. And fighting's a penalty. It's usually an ejection. It hurts our team. We can't have that. I think they're all aware of that, and that's essentially what the message was in that huddle.
There's Brian Callahan yesterday. I don't think Jeffery Simmons would have been available to bleep out Buck Rising. under Mike Vrabel because he would have been thrown out after the first punch. And he also, in a game, would have been thrown out yesterday.
Yeah, and they told him that.
They did.
The refs told
him.
Yeah,
we said that in the moment here on the show. So did Brian Callahan make the right decision?
I think yesterday with Coach Callahan, yeah. Because here's my idea about we can't judge what Vrabel did on what we think Coach Callahan should do also.
Right, and that's what I just said.
There's different methods of coaching and operating as a head coach. I think it was good for Jeff to go back in that situation and truthfully probably fight it. Now I ain't going to say fight again, but understand 2 fights in a row, you're going to be gassed. And I much appreciated watching a guy being gassed and learning a lesson than to send him to the doggone sand pit and say, hey, go run as punishment. The team is better if Jeffery Simmons is out there. And the team is better also if Jeff finds out that, look, fighting is going to make me expend a lot of energy that I don't need to. I'm trying to take that next level, that next tier of being a first team, being a first pick at Pro Bowl, right? Not a backup. Right? Even though he's made it numerous times, and also not be second team All-Pro, be first team All-Pro. Because these are the learning steps I think Jeff will have to make and adjust to as far as being a younger pro. Well, he ain't a young pro. He's 27 years old right now. But being a guy that's trying to take that next step into figuring out, how do I get to the upper echelon? He's already there, but, what's the next step to be first team All-Pro? Those are the things I think that have to make it. So I think making him stay out here and learning how to manage my attitude moving forward in day 2, learning how to manage my reps that I have to take as far as how exhausted I'll be if I expend unnecessary energy. I liked it. I think this team, honestly, we sat around somebody yesterday to be unnamed that said, I loved it. That was inside of this building.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would have thrown him out after the second one. Because I think what also makes this team better is T'Vondre Sweat not watching that and being like, I just want to be just like Jeff.
No, see, the thing with Sweat is he can't afford to.
615-737-1045 is our number. Lots more on this when we come back. Plus, the full answer that Jeffery Simmons gave us here on this show 16 days ago when he was asked about some of his issues with local Nashville media. Agree or disagree with it? It is the most recent on-the-record comment we have received from Jeff on the subject, so you'll hear that whole answer coming up next year on the show. Live from Titans training camp here in hour number 1, getting the Wednesday morning started here on Ramon K. Lidwell. Wednesday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW, broadcasting live from Tennessee Titans training camp and streaming live on 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch.
Twitch, please.
Oh, let's go, Reed.
I'm not like you, huh?
You savage. You savage,
You
Reed.
set
You
me
get
up
him,
with
Reed.
the track. All right, I got you. Payback's on the way, man. Hey, meet me in the parking
Get
lot
him.
about 15 minutes. We're fighting. Is that cool? No? All right.
We got a show we got to do.
Okay. Well, but, never mind. Never mind.
To business.
We can do all these things during the show, as was done under this tent yesterday.
That's the standard.
You've heard from Brian Callahan, his thoughts on the fights in yesterday's practice. I will say before we get to the Jeffery Simmons audio and his heated discussion, maybe not, it wasn't a discussion, his heated tirade against Buck Rising yesterday, I thought the offensive line responded really well to the swings that Jeffery Simmons literally took at them, namely Peter Skronsky, Ramon.
Yeah, no doubt. And it wasn't just Jeff. Arden was in. The whole gang was in because I guarantee their film, they were circling everybody not around the
Mason
pile.
Kinsey was
Oh,
in
my
there.
gosh.
Mason
Getting
Kinsey
busy.
started it over here. He was the one
He
who
had
began the fighting.
two different scuffles. yesterday.
Yeah.
The funniest thing before we get serious was watching D-Hop and Calvin tap the shoulder pads of everybody.
Hey,
Calvin
hey,
really
hey.
like, hey, y'all calm down. But the O-line responded. I honestly think a good bit of that was strategic. I think those guys got bullied last year as far as having to grow up. You got to look. This O-line is in a position where these guys got to gel and grow up super, super, super fast. Peter Skronsky's in a position right now where he may end up having to be that guy, that homegrown leader, along with Lloyd Cushenberry, too. There is an element where this has to happen as an O-line and D-line because at the end of the day, it's iron sharpens iron. So if we believe that to be true, right? That's where they are. And having that back and forth, those fights, that tension, that, hey, now if you do it to me, I better. I absolutely, Kayla, if you punch me in my shoulder super hard,
You want me
hear
to?
me?
I can do it.
I'm good. I worked out pretty
Okay.
hard yesterday. I'm good on that one, okay? What I'm saying is if I see you do something to Will or me,
Sure.
you better do twice as much to the people across the line of
Hell
scrimmage.
yeah.
And that's where this, to me, I love the enthusiasm of it. I'm going to get off this soapbox because we got so much to talk about, Will.
I do
but
wanna
the
add to
O-line
that.
did respond well. Every single one of them were at the fight, present and accounted for.
I wanted to add to Peter Skronsky, though, because I have really been impressed with him early on. And I asked Lloyd Cushenberry about Peter yesterday and just how it's coming along with him next to him, how they're working together. He raved about Peter Skronsky. And the biggest thing he said about Peter, he's already gained the weight, right? We've seen the physical side to him. He said that dude is so smart. And he compared him to, and I'm going to have to go back to the soundbite, but he compared him to somebody he played with at the Broncos and just the way that he prepares. And if he's got the brains out there and now the physical part that we're putting together, I think Peter's going to be a really solid piece this year.
At guard, right?
Yeah.
At guard.
At guard.
At guard.
Yeah.
He's-
that position that
he's
doesn't
at
get
guard.
stats,
Okay,
you know.
yeah. No, not even
left
just
guard
that.
love. We
Yeah,
got to
yeah,
justify this
at
morning.
guard.
For the fans that saying he's
Left
going to be a
guard.
tackle.
Yes, and
okay?
it is
for left guard, not
guard.
left tackle. Okay, all
All
right.
right, y'all done?
Yeah, I'm done
Not
now. My
tackle.
bad. Go ahead. Let's roll.
Your thoughts on Jeffery Simmons coming up to Buck Rising yesterday under this tent? If you
right.
missed it on Twitter, we're not going to play the audio. There
Yeah,
are
it's
words
been
in there
played
that
80,000
you
times.
obviously we cannot play you. So go to literally just search Buck Rising or Jeffery Simmons on Twitter, and you'll find it very quickly. But I thought Jeff crossed a line yesterday, and I thought Buck Rising handled himself very well in the 1 minute that has gone viral.
It's on me.
Go
Kayla,
for it.
you want it? All right,
No,
I'll take
you
it.
go
So
for it.
here's my stance. I think, and I said it before the break, I think both of them won, okay? In the idea that all press is good press. Jeff name resonates more now. Here's the thing, too. I think immediately Buck won as far as his career goes. Him having this type of moment correlates to me like Stephen A. had with Ryan Clark. It's Skip Bayless-ish. It is Shannon Sharp-like. The idea now that Buck Rising can be a national name to where when the big networks come in, they reach out to somebody in the city. Buck can be that guy. Career-wise, you're right. Buck sat back. He understood that, hey, look, this is what I do. I choose my words however I want to choose them, right? But when it comes down to how he's going to be judged moving forward, that's where the issue lies to me. So we're going to play the audio of what Jeff said and alluded to what got him to this point right here. The other thing I'll say is this, too. I don't think there was no tough guy in any situation right there. Because here's the thing. Jeff knows for a fact that if he swing on Buck, that's a lawsuit and an assault and a suspension from the NFL. Buck also knows that he can say whatever the heck he wants to Jeff, and if Jeff hits him, Buck probably quit his job and start his own podcast because he's going to be fully loaded with money. Okay?
Does he have his own podcast?
Is that? No, even more so on his own network. There is no win in Jeff being physical and assaulting Buck, if that's what everybody wanted to. Now, here's the issue that I have with either one of those things, right? What happened and how it all went about. From my understanding and talking to folks around this conversation between Jeff in the media and Buck Rising and anybody else that's in the media was this to me. You can say what you want to about a guy as long as you can pull up the tape and point it out and say, hey, this is why I'm saying this about you. I have no problem now with doing work with Titans Radio to understand that I can be critical of a guy and say you had a bad game if I can point that out. Where I think Buck lost his point of emphasis was this. It was Jeffery Simmons also has the ability to have an opinion about what folks say about this team. A lot of guys are fans of other guys on other teams that they want to play with at some point. And I think in Jeffrey's situation, he likes Jamal Adams. He loves his attitude. He wants to be his teammate. He know what he can do to help this team out. So initially, and I even told you guys, when Buck initially gave his reaction to Jamal Adams, it was, ugh. And I was like, that's not the proper response to make unless you're going to have a reason to back that up. You can't just instantly go, ugh. Because we've seen a guy in DeAndre Hopkins get signed here that far surpassed our expectations of what he was going to be as a pro. I think it's fair to give guys who come to new teams the ability to show what they're actually worth. And then 2 games in, if he sucked, okay, then I think it's appropriate to go, ugh. In that situation, I told you guys that I voiced that about that situation too. Now, as it pertains to the reaction to Jeff saying what he said about the media, it was this to me too. What Buck said, in my opinion, and you guys know I shared this with you, and this was my opinion from the get-go. You can't personally go at somebody and tell them that they need to grow up or they're childish as it pertains to them as a person. I said Will Levis needs to grow up as a pro on the sideline. He needs to, get his emotions in check when he has a bad player or play doesn't go his way. That's something right there that I can correlate to his profession. I think calling him whatever Buck called him in those moments was more personal than it was professional. If we can separate the professional part from the personal side, that's where you dig at me at, to where I'm just like, I can't get with you on that one. And I think Jeff took it that way. Everything that we love about Jeff, there's a portion of it on the other side that you'll hate when it shows up like this too. His passion has led this team in a way that everybody has gotten behind him. The same passion that Aaron Donald, I'm not comparing him to Aaron Donald, but he has that same passion that led a very bad Los Angeles Rams team to the Super Bowl when they finally got their stuff together, right? These are the things I think that happen along the way to where you have no identity. He's lawfully out. Tannehill and Derek now. It's his squad. And Byard's not here, too. And I know he talked out both sides of his mouth about, I want to be the leader of this team, but then you do stuff like this. I do think it's appropriate. I do think Jeff has the ability to voice his opinion. All right, cursing. All right, I get that. Probably not appropriate with the kids in the space right here, too. But here's the thing, too. That's where parenting correctly also has to step in also. You can't say, hey, you need to make straight A's in your classroom because the teacher's teaching you. No, education also happens at home. Also, parenting also happens at home if somebody has a bad word if somebody says a bad word in front of your child. I think, hey, if you met me on social media with your job and I see you at your job and I have the ability to come at you about it, I think it's somewhat fair game at that point because, again, I thought Buck attacked on him at that point, calling him soft, was more personal than professional in that moment right there.
So this is what I think about the situation in terms of both sides, and I'm trying to give it neutrally from both sides, being a media member here and also, trying to relate to a player's perspective. And you're a player, understand what that locker room has been like. And I'll say this, being in that locker room before, this is not the first time that we have seen this type of situation unfold. Okay, it happens every year, if not twice a year. And it usually happens in the confines of a locker room, so you don't see it as much. And you see it, happen behind closed doors. These players confront media members sometimes when they don't like certain things. And there is word choices that you use as a media member, and we all cover this team differently. We all have different ways we want to cover the team and how our personalities are. Some of us do it with a little bit more flair. Some of us use some extra words that might, tick off a player. They see the headline and you're Buck and you've got a big following. You're going to see that headline. You're probably going to be more of a target than somebody who's just kind of giving the straight facts and leaving it at that. So the word soft and some of the words used yesterday, even after telling about the scrum, it was like the other words after that probably he saw after practice or somebody approached him with that tweet. He is already having emotions running high, and obviously he lit up. If it was in the locker room, he would have probably come up to Buck in the locker room. Unfortunately, it's a situation he still feels like this is his home. This is like Titans, like headquarters right here. And coming out here and finding Buck, he felt like that was a moment because he wanted to address it right then. However, it was probably not the best moment because he was not on air. He was on air. Whether or not Jeff knew that right away, I don't know. Obviously, Buck said that eventually. These players don't know when we're on air and we're not on air. When we have these headsets on, they just assume, okay, you're there, right? We're going to go talk to you immediately. I was not seeing this. I heard there's kids out here. I agree. Like some of the language stuff, that's hard sometimes to, look at a player and say, hey, he's supposed to be a leader and all this stuff. But he was in the heat of the moment. And this is Jeff through and through. Jeff is not putting on an act. Jeff is always like this. If he's heated, he's going to tell you his thoughts, and he's going to try to work it out. Now, it could have been done behind doors, and I know Bucks reached out to him, and I don't know how that conversation went. But I'll say this. Moving forward, I hope those two work it out. I honestly do, and I believe they can. But I see it from both sides. I understand where Jeff's coming from, where he's allowed to speak his mind and he's allowed to be passionate. That's who he is. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. But at the same time, this was probably not the greatest place to do it, when Buck's live on air and he's trying to run his own show. So I see it from both sides, but I just feel like this is something that just needs to be fixed. Let's move on. I don't want to be talking about this every week on the show.
I'll say this, too, just to add more context, too. In that audio, you can hear it. Jeff said this. You are a Taylor Lewan guy. So he said that twice. This is where I think it really boiled even more for him was this. When you are introduced to the team or accepted through the team, through a guy, to the team, through a guy, like Taylor opened the door, from my understanding, for the relationships inside of that building because Buck was the cool guy. Buck is of the same age as most of these players.
I think that's the complex part.
And that's where when Will, Caleb, Bert, Kirby, if we're ever in a situation I tell you, hey, these are my guys, or this is my girl right here, hey, meet them. At that point, players let their guards down because you're one of us in that moment. And I think that's where it got misconstrued to whereas Buck is, in a sense, not a team guy, but he knows those guys because Taylor introduced you and let you be in the locker room.
Well, and he acts like that in the locker room. He does act like a friendly,
So,
guy.
He does.
Yeah.
So there it is. And Taylor pretty much uncuffing you to be one of them, and then for you to say what you say in those moments, it probably was more disappointing to Jeff and everybody else around this situation. Right or wrong, I've seen that happen. If I introduce you to one of my guys, Will or Kayla or Bert, you're with them.
Right.
And I think it's a different, perspective about you, a different thought about you. When he said you're a Taylor Lewan guy, Taylor's not here anymore. So because of that, we can't allow you to say these things anymore.
I will say that I thought Buck handled in the moment that situation about as well as one could have. The funniest part was Lucas just being like, "Oh, we need to make that happen." Just totally deadpan.
I give him the gold.
And just smirking within that. Gold medal for Lucas Panzica in media fighting yesterday. But
Lucas for the gold.
We'll get to the audio coming up. I said we're going to do it here. We'll do it in a few minutes. I do think that Jeffery Simmons yesterday crossed a line for me for the first time. I didn't have an issue with what he said on our show back on July 15th that we're going to play for you coming up at 6:45. I don't have an issue with him no commenting the media the other day when he was asked about his stance on local media. He's moved on. That was 2 weeks ago. That needed to be a new step for him as training camp begins. I'm a little disappointed, though, that now he's come back and he's commented again. And I don't think it's a great look for Jeff when Buck Rising is saying in the moment, do you want to have a conversation? And he says, no, talk to me in person. Okay, we are in person, right? I thought cooler heads should have and could have prevailed in that moment. And I honestly think Jeffery Simmons will look back on this maybe even in a week and say, yeah, I probably took this a little bit too far. The message that he wanted to get across has been given across loud and clear, that he's the leader of this team. It's going to be his locker room, his way. That defense is going to take his mentality. I don't have any problem with that. I don't think Jeffery Simmons is a soft person. I think people that are calling Jeff soft or sensitive are idiots this morning. I don't think Jeffery Simmons is a soft person. He has made some decisions that have been because he's been sensitive about things on social media. My advice for Jeffery Simmons, either don't get on social media or just block people. Derek Carr has talked about this on podcasts. Mm-hmm. He'll just block people. He's like, I don't dislike you. I don't have an issue with you. I just don't want to see it. And I'm the type of person to where when I'm in the heat of the moment, I want to be there for my guys. And if it helps me be there for my guys and be a leader, I'm just going to block you and I'm going to move on. Maybe that's what Jeffery Simmons needs to do at this point. He's not a soft individual. He's not a overly sensitive person, but he has made some sensitive decisions in the last couple of weeks that I think crossed a line for me for the first time yesterday. I understand all the points you guys have made. I think you're right on the vast majority of it. That, yeah, all press is good press within a sense, but I think if Jeffery Simmons was a New York Giant or a Philadelphia Eagle doing that yesterday, it's on for 3 hours on First Take this morning. I think he got away with that because this isn't a big market team, and he has no idea what it's like to be covered by New York media and Philadelphia media, because I think somebody would have gotten back in his face and not handled it the way Buck did in Philadelphia or New York.
Well, in Buck, I mean, in Buck's case too, though, if he's on I mean, I've never had major problems seeing these players. They'll go off on people now and then, but I've never seen anybody lay a hand on like a media member in that locker room. And there's some markets where there's some players that I would not doubt it if they put a hand on a player.
No, I don't want that to be the case. I don't know if there's any player that's ever done that to a media person. Getting in their face, yeah, but like we understand, if I touch you, it's a lawsuit. It's just that. My job's not – it ain't a suspension. Like, guys aren't that dumb. That's why I think a lot of the conversation that what he would have or should have done or got physical, I don't think that's a fair take for any player inside of that locker room. Players fighting players, oh, yeah, that's going to happen. Players going at coaches, that also happens. But nobody is putting hands on anybody because, again, your size, your strength, your ability to always be guilty before you're innocent, no, I won't let that one. No, I don't know if players live that life to want to assault media members.
Well, I've never seen it here.
Yeah. I'm just saying that any other 31 cities, I just can't see that being the case.
What I don't like is now the comments like on YouTube we get of Buck needs to keep Jeffrey's name out of his mouth. Well, it's literally his job.
This is.
Like, if you don't like Buck because he tells it how it is and he doesn't always tell you what you want to hear, that's why Buck Rising's a good radio host. His job is not to cheerlead and to tell you what you want to hear every time something is positive. Yes, there's nuance to that. Ramon's 100% right. Kayla is 100% right. That you get initiated as a Lewan guy, there's going to be problems that come up from that when Lewan's gone, because not everyone in that locker room loved Lewan. So I get it. I'm not totally defending Buck either in this. I think there's wrongs on both sides. But this idea of Buck can't talk about Jeffery Simmons is ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. We're going to play you the comments from Jeffery Simmons on July 15th on this show about Nashville media. That's coming up next. Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW here on 104.5 The Zone. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling. So Jeffery Simmons was on the show on July 15th, a pre-training camp visit. This was in the middle of when the Twitter dispute started between Jeffery Simmons and Nashville media, a story that has since evolved, of course, to a viral clip yesterday here at the 104.5 The Zone tent when Jeffery Simmons confronted Buck live on the Buck Rising show. We wanted to play you this full answer from the July 15th interview. It is long, but it is the full context. And again, I don't think we're making a commentary on what Jeff said, but for those that say, oh, well, Jeff needs to comment on this, he kind of did a little bit with us 2 weeks ago. So whether you agree or disagree with it, this is Jeffery Simmons' last on-the-record answer. It was on our radio show about his feelings and some negative ones about Nashville media.
Well, Ramon, you've been in the locker room. You've been in the locker room. No one knows your teammates, and no one knows the guys in your teammates. In your locker room better than you. Like, you've been in that locker room. And a lot of people, a lot of the media, and no offense to even you, Kayla, it just, when you play the game and you see stuff like that, and especially with some of the, and there's a lot of men who never played a game, and it seems like, they really don't have respect for the locker room. And I get it that some of them try to, get the stories out and try to get the clicks, but it's like, I just, especially, I don't care. That's one thing about me, and you guys see that on Sunday. Like, I don't care if our offense on the field or if it's special team. If I see something or something going on with my teammates, I'm gonna be that guy. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm gonna step up for my teammates, and of course that get me in trouble sometimes. But at the end of the day, I take being the guy of the locker room. I take being like me saying that this is my locker room serious. Of course, like you see, you can't control what nobody tweet. You can't control what nobody say. But it's just some of the guys who tweeted. It's like, man, like you the same guy that be in the locker room, and laughing with guys who we even just signed or that been here. But it's like you get outside of the building, it's like something totally different. And like I said, you can't control that. And I think I did tweet that, but at the end of the day, you can't control what they tweet. But also, the reason why I did say I bookmarked that, because I remember, and I'm not going to call him a name, but I remember we signed a guy, and all of a sudden he started having a great year. Mm-hmm. And then boom, everything just started like domino effect. He having a great year, like boom, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden, you see also some guys want to get him on the radio. They want to get him on his show, or they want to do an interview with him. They come into our locker room, but it's like when they wanted to talk to him, he was like, "Nah, I'm good." And then, then they also getting mad that he didn't want to talk at the time. So it's just things like that where, even with the Jamal Adams signing, I've been a fan of Jamal Adams for a long time, and I would say like when Rand texted me before the news, he called me before the news even broke. He was like, "We're about to sign him. He in town tonight. You want to stop through with dinner?" I was so excited. Like I said, just being able to watch him and knowing what he do bring to a team. His energy. Even Denari, like, we finally got a guy who talk more smack to you. I was like, I don't know about that one. Which I do know he talk a lot of smack. And that's why I know that he gonna fit in with our defense so well, and the type of defense that Denari bringing. This type of defense that he have here now in Tennessee, I just knew, like when Rand said we were signing him, no matter his role, which no one knows yet, but I was excited for the signing. But it's like, yes, we know Jamal been hurt. I've been hurt, right. But at the end of the day, it's like don't kill someone before they even get started. Yeah. That'd be my biggest thing, and that's the reason why I did tweet that. I just. Give people opportunity, and that's what this life all about. Maybe one opportunity wasn't good enough, two opportunities not good enough. But once they find, I feel like once guys find the system for them, once they find that team for them, I think that's when they can flourish. And I go back to Nico. The the coach didn't value him. We valued the mess out of him the last couple of years. Haiti not with us now, and then he came and he been balling. He was balling for us the last couple of years. So, like I said, I'm excited for the signing. That tweet, of course, was going on crazy over in social media because a lot of people kind of knew and they kind of felt like that tweet was for them. Someone even sent me something. One of the local media said it was soft on my behalf, but no one, them guys not gonna call me soft in my face and nothing like that, as we know. And it's not one thing where I'm looking for no drama with the tweet, but also it's like, you guys can speak your mind. I'm also able to speak my mind as well. I'm not a football player. I have the right to speak my mind on my social media as well too. So I think that's pretty much it on that. Like I said, of course everyone blew it up, but we also want to, like I said earlier in this industry right here, we're not out to prove no one right is or wrong. We trying to prove ourselves that we know what we're gonna have in our locker room. Like I said, it start in in a week.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that.
So that was Jeffery Simmons on this show on July the 15th. Again, we give you that audio to give you the full context of everything he said on the record about Nashville media, because that was it. He has not since commented other than the off-the-record spat, I would say, with Buck Rising yesterday.
Yeah. And look, you can have your opinion, whatever you want, but, we all have either, if we're a fan or we're covering this team every day, if you're a former player, we all have our different takes. And as we respect your opinions, we ask you to respect ours because we all look at it in a different way. But I will say this, and I've always said this about Jeffery Simmons, he's been one of the best players in that locker room I've ever worked with. I respect the hell out of him, and I respect Buck. He's my teammate. So with that being said, I hope it's the last time we have to go at this situation.
I think we will. Again, it's a situation. We can talk long and far on this one, but the things that you love about Jeff, he does back up his teammates. He's the fighter that you want in your foxhole. So this attitude is what comes along with it, right? The reason why Jordan and others are great is because they have this type of passion.
Yep.
Kobe was great because why? He took his teammates' heads off and didn't take nothing from nobody, right? These are the guys that become great in this game. It's not just a nice guys league, is what I would tell you. Could it have been a little bit better? Yes, it could have, but I'm the type of person that I appreciate this. No punches were thrown. There was some curse words, but heck, I hear more of that in on TV, on national TV, than I do somewhere else. Okay, and you're in a football setting. It's a lot. I can go forever on this one.
Well, let's talk about football. Coming up next with Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio, who joins us hour 2 live from training camp, is next.
grabbed the wave that the station is on, that all of them went after Jeff.
What's going on out here at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park for another day of Titans training camp? And yesterday was Chippy. First Chippy day and the first day of pads. Brian Callahan spoke about the tension, unbothered by the melee.
It is what it is. Like, it's football. I don't mind guys setting a tone with the intensity ramped up. And we just got to understand that we can play to the edge and we can still play within the rules. And fighting's a penalty. It's usually an ejection. It hurts our team. We can't have that. I think they're all aware of that, and that's essentially what the message was in that huddle.
DJ Moore and the Bears reaching an agreement on a 4-year, $110 million extension that includes $82 million guaranteed. Moore now has had the first 10 years of his career fully guaranteed, the first wide receiver to do so in NFL history. And the injury update from around the league and training camp. Steelers rookie wide receiver Roman Wilson, who impressed early in camp, suffered an ankle sprain in practice. Belief is that he'll be ready to start the season, but expect Wilson to be eased back in. Similar to the Lions, had another injury to veteran defensive end John Kaminsky, who is out indefinitely with a torn MCL. He's out to have surgery. The belief is that he will be out 5 to 6 months for his rehab. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
$7 a.m. and hour number 2, getting started on a Wednesday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW on 104.5 The Zone with Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh and Kirby Allen Kirby making us sound pretty. Reed Smith back at our 104.5 The Zone studios. We are joined by Titans Radio's executive producer, bearing gifts this morning, Rhett Bryan. Rhett, first of all, thank you for feeding us. This is amazing.
Yeah, Rhett.
Little Dunkin' spread this morning.
We needed a little bit of a sprinkling of sweetness.
There was some sourness yesterday. and to your point this morning, Kayla, I'm trying to bring a little positivity. But with Bert's update, I just want to be like DJ Moore, man.
Yeah.
First 10 years of your career guaranteed.
Fully.
You talk about banking stacks of money. Good Lord. Of course, he's earned every penny of it.
But this is also where, I hate to be this type of guy, but no. But this is where when we spoke to like the union and like the NFLPA as far as like money and guarantees, what he's done, one, he had the rookie deal, which is fully guaranteed, but he also only did, a 4-year deal? Like, in order to get fully guaranteed contracts, it's a bet to say, hey, I'm only want 4 when a lot of guys get 5 and 6 years. But if I get 4 and 4 fully guaranteed, hey, I'm betting on myself to get the next deal also, too, which is a lot of guys don't want to do. They want that 6-year deal and then, hey, extend me at 5. No, give me all the money right now, Rhett, which is what DJ Moore and his agency has done. That's where I think the NFL would be better off doing, and players also. Give me a 3-year, let's say, give me a 3-year 120 instead of saying give me a 6-year $225 million deal, you know?
Well, and to your point, Ramon, when you look at what has been reported with the quarterback deals last week, with Jordan Love, with Tua Tagovailoa, and I haven't looked completely at those numbers, but you're not talking about voidable year type things that normally, we always say, well, it's a 6-year deal. It's probably really a 3. It's a 4-year deal. Well, it's probably
you
really
see what
a
I'm
2.
saying? Like, do
it's
the 3
window dressing
and give it all to me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
the deal is the deal.
The deal is the deal.
Yeah,
I mean,
which is
at that point, DJ is getting fired college football coach money.
Matt Rule money. Yeah.
Wow.
Jimbo Fisher said, "Hold my beer." Said, "Hold my champagne." Rhett, have to start with obviously the tempers flaring a little bit. We'll stick to what was on the practice field yesterday to start off our conversation with you. You've been around for a lot of different iterations of training camp fights. I remember the Donnie Nicky days very well, of some very heated, intense moments. What were your thoughts on the response after the first scuffle, that second scuffle with Jeffery Simmons? Because from our perspective, I think the offensive line responded decently well, and things seem to still be productive after those couple of fracases, so to speak.
Well, and that is one of the main reasons why is head coach Brian Callahan came and huddled everyone up and threw a little fire out there. He spewed a little bit. We've heard Brian Callahan and being the level-headed guy. The coach, we heard the coach for the first time yesterday in terms of everyone who was out here. And he had to rein that in because at the end of the day, yes, you want the physicality. Yes, you want the attitude. All those things that you want to bring to the table. But at some point, it's counterproductive. And, to the audio that you've been running all morning about, what Coach Callahan said at the podium yesterday, you're talking about fines, suspensions, ejections, all of those things. So, I think there's a way you can channel that. And, of course, that's very easy for me to say and hard for these guys to do. It is 1 million degrees out here. The dew point is 9,000, and, it's like gravy out here. So, they're hitting on each other. And they're at that point where they're tired of hitting on each other. You knew when the pads were coming on this was going to be a thing. But I think I like the way Jeff is bringing it, but I also think there is a way you can channel that properly, and that's probably what's been happening with conversations with the head coach and general manager with him and, those kinds of things. Because, listen, I'd be the last person to talk to anybody about a temper because I've got one, and I don't have a lot of patience. So this is, pot calling the kettle. So,
yeah.
But here's the thing. I think Jeff, I've never seen him, like he's determined and he is deliberate and he is ferocious and all those things. Every year he's approached his career here. But I think he was frustrated by 6-11.
Yep.
I think he was frustrated by 2 straight years. I think he's frustrated about not being able to be fully healthy and give everything he needs to do and missing time. And I think all that's kind of boiled up inside of him. And yesterday it just kind of brimmed over.
Yeah, I was actually going through some stuff in social media yesterday and saw a tweet from the locker room cleanout from Jeff. And you could tell just the frustration on his face that he wasn't able to be out there. I mean, remember, he was out there actually in certain situations playing on a bum ankle, playing through some stuff. And so this is a guy who he'll play through it if he can. But he was frustrated he couldn't contribute as much like you were saying last year. And he even said in that bite, he was like, I am so ready to come back next year. It's going to be a fresh new year. I'm going to take my leadership up to another level. And, here we are, the start of training camp. And, he's intense. And that's Jeff's personality. He is a passionate guy.
And then you also think about, Kayla, how much has changed with this Titans franchise in the last 7 months. You've got a new head coach. You've got a predominantly new coaching staff. I mean, I think, 36 of the 90 players are new guys here by either undrafted free agents and draft picks. I mean,
sure,
that's quite a turnover. I just think it's a culmination of a lot of things. And Ramon, you said something earlier this morning that struck a chord too. He is the leader now. There is no Kevin Byard. There is no Ryan Tannehill. There is no Derrick Henry. He's it.
Yeah.
And there's other leaders that are going to emerge out of this, but he's the guy.
Yeah.
And he's been going towards that direction for the last 3-4 seasons.
And so with that being said, too, Rhett, if a player has a bad day at practice, that doesn't mean he's a bad person.
No.
Bad player. If a person has a bad game, Rhett, that doesn't mean that they're a bad player either, right? A team has a bad game. That doesn't mean they suck. It's just that everybody's owed or due one in this lifetime of mistakes, right? And that's where I think a lot of this has been lost in the fight stuff. There's a lot of this has been lost in the Jeff versus the media stuff. A lot of this has been lost in the idea that, look, grace is given to guys that play an imperfect game, that have to deal with a lot of outside entities that when they like to keep it more inside anyway, right, Rhett? And the fights in general, I'll be honest with you, Rhett, being around it, seeing the coaches, nobody was really up in arms until Coach Callahan really, we're losing time now. Let's rein it in.
Right.
And to my understanding, and Will and I were around some folks yesterday that were, let's say this, they were excited that they saw this from their team, that you got a response, that guys were willing to fight and protect each other also, and that, look, a team searching for an identity with a young quarterback, with a new DC, with a new head coach, first-time head coach, Rhett, you somewhat – some of the times, like, you got to put the pedal to the metal on your new car, right? And see, is this really a V8 with a twin turbo, or do I have a V6? No offense to V6s out there, Rhett. But
Man,
sometimes
V6 is catching a wild
yeah,
string.
man, you always got a turbo in it, though, Will.
People need to know that.
I'm more of a four-cylinder gas sipper kind of guy, but go ahead.
But what I'm saying is this, Rhett. Sometimes it's okay to mash the gas to see what we got under the hood.
Sure.
And that's what we got yesterday.
Now, what you did, if we're talking car technology here, Ramon, and you're well-versed in cars, and you know that I like cars, what you did was you had a diagnostic test yesterday. You
put it on a machine is what they'll say.
You had a check engine light. You put it on a dyno test and put it on the free rollers and got it up to a certain speed. But maybe you had a check engine light come on, and so you had a diagnostic check.
Yeah, we did.
But look, the greater message out of what you're saying, we're all flawed human beings on a basic human level. And we're not gonna, we're gonna say and do things that maybe are out of character and out of place, and sometimes in the heat of the moment. And I'm interested to see how today's tone and temper is carried out, because there's going to be more fans out here today, and it's warm again today. The sun is out today, and here come the pads again, right?
So, and being around folks too, this is a old saying, Rhett. A lot of people said, I know they said in Tennessee and other places too. I try to get my George Bush on right there. But what I'm saying is this: the same things that'll make you love somebody will also make you hate them too.
Fool me, can't get fooled again.
Can't get fooled again. And I think that on both sides of this Buck and Jeff situation, right? We love that Buck does this. We love that Jeff does this too. And I think on the playing field, when we see Big Jeff go and knock Trevor Lawrence's head off, you love that too, don't
That's
you?
my guy. That's my guy.
What we talking about here, man?
Equalizing the AFC South.
Exactly.
Yep.
And talking about Caleb Williams' painted nails a few weeks ago.
Uh-oh.
Coming up.
Week 1.
Coming up
They
with
love
Rhett
that,
Bryan. What happened yesterday on the practice field outside of the scuffles? We'll talk about Will Levis. We'll talk about the Titans' defense. We'll hear from Brian Callahan, who evaluated the defense, and get a Rhett under-the-radar player of the week here on this Wednesday morning. That's next with Rhett Bryan here on Ramon K. Will. Hey, what's going on? It's Will Bowling here from my friends at Lee Company. Hey, you hear me talk all the time about how Lee Company is all you need. Well, if you got a summer home to-do list, you just hand it to them. They're going to take care of it for you. Maybe you're looking to freshen up your home's look before hosting friends and family for a cookout. Well, available 24/7, 365. The Lee Company Home Improvement Professionals, they have you covered. From pressure washing your driveway or deck to drywall repairs, landscape lighting, painting, and more, Lee Company is all you need. You got to contact them today at 615-567-1000 or visit them online at leecompany.com to schedule your appointment. That's 615-567-1000. They're online at leecompany.com. Anything you got on your summer home to-do list, they will take care of it for you. That's leecompany.com for all your home improvement needs this summer. Lee Company, all you need. RKW, Ramon, Kayla, and Will live from Tennessee Titans training camp here on 104.5 The Zone. Full crew here. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, joined by Titans Radio's Rhett Bryan. Rhett, defense winning the day yesterday, but Brian Callahan liked the way the offense finished practice. Outside of the scuffles, which we've covered, what did you see yesterday on the practice field that stood out to you?
All right, I'm going to give you one, and this is from a big guy over here, the offensive lineman. I couldn't wait to see O-line, D-line lock horns with pads on one-on-one drills. And let me tell you something. First of all, Tavondre Sweat, Lord, what a road grader that guy is. Just, I mean, he's an enormous person. And pushing some guys back. But let me tell you what I saw. Coach Mack and I were actually watching this and seeing the technique, the improvement of the technique of the offensive line. You could tell Bill Callahan's signature was on what I was seeing. Because in the reps for the supposed starters in this, in terms of now, J.C. Latham had one or here or there, but he's a rook. But he also had some moments where he was good. But I take the one that really stood out was Peter Skoronski. He really was, and this is where the work with the big sleds, Bertha and Olga, come into play. And we've seen that where Bill Callahan will ask them to, lean in for the block, but also disengage for a second and take another bite and lunge forward. That's what I saw. And the encouraging thing is you saw Peter Skoronski. He is back to where he needs to be. That appendectomy and losing the weight and all that really messed with him last year. He's back to full strength and then some. I saw good reps with Lloyd Cushenberry with that. But, again, to Coach Mack's point, he said, Rhett, what you want to see is a good rep from both sides. And that's what you saw from the D-line and the pass rushers and the offensive line trying to keep the Wolves away from the door.
And speaking of, real quick, speaking of pass rushers, just Harold Landry, I think we were all kind of questioning.
He's fine.
Yeah, I know Brian Callahan was like, he lost some weight. And I was like, he's got to start like fresh from what we saw in OTAs and mandatory minicamp. And he came out here, I was like, yeah, Harold is just fine. And he needs to be because, with Arden out now.
And that's the thing about it's so unfortunate with Arden's news of an impending suspension, I believe, is that there's a couple of spots positionally on this team where you couldn't afford that, and unfortunately that's one of them.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what that looks like now. I don't know if there's someone that's stepping forward. You certainly hope so, but I don't know that there's probably another acquisition somewhere in this pretty quickly, I would think.
It would, and you almost expect there should be just somebody that can be available, Rhett, throughout the course of the camp, and hoping that your guys that you've had in-house already step up. Like, I know we've mentioned his name time and time again, but the first guy to come to mind is Rashad Weaver, as far as his ability to being the older guy of the younger group, right? Yep. To step up and understand what's at stake here. And I've seen guys, y'all have too, that have taken that 1 year start or the advantage of somebody else being suspended. We had a guy who ended up having a suspension, Marcus Gilbert, play right tackle for us, right? And you know what happened in his 4 to 6 game suspension? That was this young undrafted guy who was going into a contract year by the name of Chris Hubbard. Hubbard ended up starting for the majority of that year because he played so well, and Cleveland paid him the very next year a very handsome price. What I'm saying is this. Take advantage of the opportunities. I don't care how you got them. And that's where if I could speak to a guy as a teammate, to Rashad Weaver, will let him know, hey, fella, this is it. You didn't ask for this. It was placed right in front of you, and all you ever want is an opportunity. That's why I want to look in-house first, and I know you do too, but the idea that somebody has to step up because prove us right that you're worthy of this moving forward.
Well, and Weaver, by all appearances of his body makeup right now, he went heavy last year.
Yeah, he
heavier.
did. Yeah, he did.
He is much more streamlined in body now, and I think that's for what the guys call the get off, right?
Sure.
And I think that's I think that part of it he's dialed in on. I think if he can put the rest of it together, which he has shown us in games he can, if he can do that on a consistent basis and keep stack days, win days, stack games, win games, then all the more great thing. It's right here in your own, group that you're procuring.
It was, but it's super competitive, though, Rhett, is what I'd
Sure.
also say. Once everything's settled, you really got good competition out of both groups.
Mm-hmm. And I think we'll see now a little bit toned down of that today. I still want to see that feistiness a little bit. And, scuffles are fine once in a while. Mm-hmm. I just think now that was a teaching moment early on for the new head coach, Brian Callahan, which, by the way, this isn't the Vrabel regime anymore. He's getting to know his players and how they tick and so on and so forth. So I think it'll be better today.
And I think that's an interesting approach by him, too, because obviously we don't know what he's like in meeting rooms and behind closed doors, but he doesn't strike me as somebody that is barking all the time. When he barked over there yesterday, I'm like, okay, he's got my attention. Yep. It's time to stop messing around here. Okay. And you knew it was coming. After the second scrum, you were like, okay, he's getting ready to huddle these guys up and reset the tone here for this stuff. I'll tell you one other takeaway from yesterday, and it's a good one. It's a positive one, and it's one practice and it's one day. But I was so glad to see a couple of really solid plays from Caleb Farley.
Yes.
He had a really nice play against DeAndre Hopkins, and then again on the sideline closest to us right now with Traylon Burks. I can't help but root for somebody like that because the guy has literally been through hell. With the loss of his father last year and the house explosion and just everything, lost his mother years ago to cancer. You just see things starting to click for him, and I hope that he can stack another great day today because that's something that, could be helpful to this team. And going back to T'Vondre Sweat, it's so important for him to stay dialed in and do this because he can help this defense so much, not just Big Jeff.
Yeah. Yep. I have another one, too, and Mike Keefe raised our attention to him yesterday, man. Sebastian Joseph Day. Mm-hmm. I think we at some point will have to find more time for him because he's a veteran around this league. Like Mike said, he's not going to hit your stat line and be the guy that's, I don't want to say not a household name, but when you see him make plays, he's going to be a guy that just say, oh, yeah, that was a good signing. It's solid is what I saw. And yesterday, he was able to penetrate up the field well. He played the run, personally played against him, plays the run well, and he's one of those attacking type of guys that I think Denard Wilson and his defense sought out to find to complement everybody else.
Well, and there's another obvious one that I think you're going to start to continue. Well, you're going to continue to see because I think he's had a very good camp so far, and that's linebacker coach Frank Bush. His guy coming into this was Kenneth Murray, and Kenneth Murray, former first-round pick of the Chargers, had a nice career there. But I think he's looking forward to this fresh start and a new address and a new uniform and those things. And he's a guy, you and I were standing there. You were interviewing Jack Gibbons yesterday, and Jack just glows about him because he's so big and fast, and and someone posed the question and he answered it just exactly like I thought he would. In Denard Wilson's defense, the appearance is that the guys they get in the system are the ones that they allowed to play to their strengths.
Bingo.
And I think that's where Kenneth Murray can flourish in this.
Oh, no doubt.
Is that you can get a guy that can best suit what you're doing and let him shine. Let him go do his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Rhett Bryan with us here at the table live from Tennessee Titans training camp. Yesterday, Will Levis, as written by Jim Wyatt on TennesseeTitans.com, 10 of 11 in team drills, 5 of 8 with an INT to Matthew Jackson, the Hillsboro Borough, in 7-on-7 work, making him 15 for 19 on the day. Rhett, the offense not super crisp yesterday, but they definitely finished better than they started. What did you like? What did you see from Will Levis here yesterday?
He's had a couple of days between Saturday at the open practice and yesterday where things were a little off. But there's going to be a yin and yang and a tug of war kind of thing in this as you progress through camp. Because listen, I've been to plenty of these, and you can't judge everything off of 1 or 2 practices. You remember years ago when Marcus Mariota had that streak where he didn't throw an interception in practice ever 300 and something snaps, whatever it was, something crazy. And we start following things like that. Will is a guy that, let's not forget, he is in year 2. He got 9 starts as a rookie, and he is still learning, and he will have his moments. But if there's anybody that's going to work on him, it's him. Yeah. I mean, he is been just ridiculously relentless in his approach, knowing that this is his job.
Yeah. I will say, too, that the explosiveness, the shape that Calvin Ridley has come to camp in,
and he's not. He told us he's not even. He goes, man, I'm not used to these pads yet. He said, once I get that another practice or two, I know exactly how I can shift my body and be comfortable in those pads, and I can let it loose. And I'm like,
he was also
you haven't let it loose yet,
right?
I mean, what in the world?
He was also saying those big old helmets that we're wearing. You know that he's like they are weighing on my neck because he's not a big dude either.
Yeah,
like
I've heard
of those protection.
The
Guardian
caps. Thank you.
He said the mushrooms.
Yeah, the mushrooms. Said, was you wearing that game? Nah, I don't think so.
I think, though, you always look at a player like that who's been given a payday and who's been given a really big check to come to a new place, and you never know how that's going to look week one. And I think Calvin Ridley certainly has gotten off on the right foot. He and routes on air and 7-on-7 and 1-on-1s just makes difficult things look as easy as I think anybody can.
Well, and not only that, I mean, you just realize he has not forgotten his time out of football. And Jacksonville traded for him, took a chance on him. He had a very nice year, and I think it's still rocket fuel for him. But, yeah, his route running, his awareness of things, I mean, it's going to be exciting just to see. I mean, when you think about him and DeAndre Hopkins and Tyler Boyd and the way Treylon Burks has attacked his body and physique and getting ready for this season and the way he started, it's exciting to think of the prospects. And that's why, the O-line has got to do their thing and Will Levis has got to do his thing. But Calvin Ridley, gosh, I'm so glad he's in that uniform.
Yeah, me too.
As I see him make plays, I'm sitting here going, boy, I can't wait to see him do that to Jacksonville twice a year.
I think that's definitely
Can we have
the
Nico Autry effect when he was there playing Indianapolis? No, I'm talking about when he played Indy.
Yeah, let's not have the most recent Nico Autry.
Unfortunately, we got that with Arden Key, but
yeah.
Rhett Bryan here with us. Rhett, we are every week going through a Rhett Bryan Under the Radar Player of the Week. You do such a great job telling these stories of guys who are going to be names you will hear on preseason broadcasts, on Titans radio, on the television broadcasts as well when Titans start preseason in 10 days, which is kind of crazy to think about. Rhett, who do you got for us this week?
So today it's into the tight end group.
Okay.
Steven Stylianos. Where's number 86? He originally started his career at Lafayette. And that is an FCF school in Easton, Pennsylvania. And so after he graduated there, he went to transfer portal, and he chose the Iowa Hawkeyes over Rutgers, Pitt, Syracuse, Temple, UConn, and Virginia. So he had some options there. And it just so happened the wheels fell off in that Kirk Ferentz offense because Eric All, their tight end, who was tight end number one there, had a season-ending injury, and the other guy right behind him, Luke Lachey, he was also had an injury that kept him out for the rest of the year. So he put together a nice finishing season there with them, but he's from Christchurch, Virginia, and he went to a boarding school, Christchurch School. He was a defensive lineman and a second-team All-State honoree as a quarterback. And so he had 53 tackles, 8 sacks as a senior. Offensively, he threw 889 yards, 11 touchdowns, while rushing for an additional 827 yards and 6 touchdowns. And now you're going, well, that's interesting, whatever. This guy's 6'5", 251 pounds.
Yeah.
So as Coach Mack would say, he's not an empty chair. Anyway, I just think that is somebody to kind of pay attention to as this tight end group certainly is. They're looking for Chig Okonkwo to be the unprecedented leader in this. And then, Nick Vanette has come in as a free agent.
Who, by the way, Rhett is showing that he can catch the ball a little bit, too.
Yeah, because the thing with him is he's a blocking tight end. It's like, hey, hang on a second. I can do more. And then, obviously, we've been watching Josh Wiley, who has improved himself physically, knowing that he has to try to stay available and healthy, and seem very confident in, adapting to this offense. And I mean, good Lord, why wouldn't you be excited about it? This is a new chapter in Titans offense, unlike any before. But Steven Stylianos, keep an eye on him, number 86. And it's hard to miss him. Like I said, 6'5", 251 pounds.
Considering the tight ends that have come out of Iowa over the past few years, anyone from Iowa playing that position gets your radar up just a little bit.
Good track record.
Well, and Kirk Ferentz, too, as long as he has been there, you think about he's one of those handful of college coaches that truly gets his players ready for the next level,
100%.
especially defensively. Because, Amani Hooker played for him, and, Amani Hooker was ready-made to come into this level of sport. And so that's something that can't be discounted, whether it was one season with him or not.
Rhett Bryan here with us at the table, Titans coordinator speaking in 20 minutes here from Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Thank you again for the breakfast. This stuff is awesome.
Rhett, that seriously
We're
made the
all
morning.
good. I try to take care of my peoples here.
Yep.
So
it's all sweet on this set this morning. Sweet.
And caffeinated.
That's right. Very much so.
That's Rhett Bryan. Coming up, we have got a quote from Nico Iamaleava yesterday that surprised me, but I think will make Vols fans pretty happy at Tennessee Media Day as their fall camp begins today. That's next on RKW. Wrapping up the first half of the show on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW 1045 The Zone. More from Titans camp coming up in 15 minutes. Titans coordinators are set to speak to the media at 8 o'clock. We will carry that live here on the program. We also have some potential really good news from Ramon in hour 3 that we will get to.
Yeah.
There's a lot to get to until we get to that. But
that's right.
Yesterday, Tennessee Football Media Day in Knoxville, Tennessee. Nico Iamaleava speaking to the media, talking about preferring to play road games versus home games. This was interesting.
Being at home, I definitely love road games more than home games. I don't want to upset, our Neyland fans. I love playing in Neyland Stadium, but I feel like, away games, I just feel like all the odds are against you. Gives you a little more. Just gives you a little bit more, that feeling that you get. Yeah, you could say focus. I think there's plenty of other words that you can use, but going on the road is something I've always loved to do since a young age.
So how excited are you for Oklahoma then to open conference play?
Yeah, I'm excited. Yes, ma'am, I'm excited.
All right.
I like that.
Well, let's hope so. Those are strong words from a guy who has only played in the Citrus Bowl. And that was not a road game, but I like the confidence.
But he said it from a place that he's always been this way.
Sure.
It wasn't as if it was, hey, I'm ready to come take and seize or manipulate you guys into thinking I said something vicious. He didn't. I think that's a preference. I also liked the away games too, especially in situations. Here's the other thing too, Will, when you think you're good enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that side of it also where I'm confident in my game and in my teammates where we can go on the road. We can go do some stuff as far as taking over and manipulating a crowd as it pertains to playing football and playing a team sport. So I'm excited he actually said that type of stuff. The only thing is out of everything that he said, I'm excited will be plastered all over Norman, Oklahoma as well.
Yeah.
Georgia fans are always very sensitive when you talk about their stadium in any way. Yeah. I'm sure it is already on their locker room doors.
Yeah, I like it from the young quarterback. I think it's refreshing to kind of hear the new leader of your team. And I understand he hasn't played a ton of football, but the sample size we have seen has been pretty good, and he is considered one of the leaders, one of the bigger leaders of this team, and he has to have a little bit of that confidence coming into the season, knowing what's at stake. I just love the work ethic we've heard out of Vols, camp and everything in terms of how he is, and I'm talking over the last couple of years how he's evolved. So I love it. I'm here for it. Like Nico Iamaleava, I am a fan of. Hopefully he can now match that on the playing field when the season starts.
His demeanor suggested that, hey, I love playing ball. You know what I'm saying? So I'll be excited to see what he's going to look like when it's his team fully. I think going into the bowl game, we had heard whispers, Will, he was taking all the 1 reps. But the idea that we now know he's going to be the number 1 quarterback going into the season as a young guy, very, very, very fascinating season for him moving forward, man, because, again, I said a few weeks ago, he is the guy I think that started these numbers as it pertains to the NIL through Spire. Remember, they even tried to take him to court over the legality of it, and was it legal or was it improper benefits for a guy like him? And come to find out, it was all good.
Yeah, that's right. I hate going on Twitter and seeing a big breaking story about Trent Williams. Oh, did he get a contract? No, he's just 99 overall on Madden.
I know, right?
The Madden could be the cover of video games. I do not care about magazines, considering EA college football is in our midst this year.
Is that much better, though, you think?
It is
Or
so
is Madden going to take a step up now?
No, Madden will take a step back.
I identify more with playing the Madden games than I do college, but I see what you get at from time to time by saying you learn rosters by playing games.
I know
like
ball
that,
quite a bit better than I would otherwise.
Yeah.
Because I've been battling with the SEC.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Buck Rising is here. We can confirm he did not have a Secret Service escort as he walked into Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. We can also confirm he still likes us.
Well, I don't know yet. I got to ask him about that.
Folks saying we got to pick
That's
a
fair.
side.
We haven't talked to him yet.
Terrible.
So.
I'll go face to face.
Oh, goodness.
Never argue, people.
Titans coordinators going to speak to the media coming up here in just a few minutes. What are you interested to hear from them?
I am interested to kind of hear in terms of, Nick Holtz, like we all know, Brian Callahan is the offensive maybe mind behind everything that's going to go along this season. But I always like to hear the perspective from Nick Holtz. He's a little bit more chill, a little bit more cerebral in the way that he answers questions, so he gives a lot of details in how this offense is run, and just curious to pick his brain a little bit, or hear the media pick his brain a little bit about Will Levis up to this point and what he's seen from his perspective, because we get Brian Callahan's perspective every day, but definitely curious to hear from him about that.
Mine is control going into day 2 after having a day like this yesterday. How much control, Denard, can you guys have on the defense, and Nick Holtz and Brian Callahan on the offensive side of things? Because if you take too much away from those guys' physicality and have them on eggshells, it's not productive. You can't get better if those two guys can't still set out and say, hey, I want the same energy. I just don't. When the whistle blows, we're done.
Right. Echo the whistle.
Echo the whistle. Right. I want to see them guys explain and describe the type of control that they want from both sides of the football today, man. I think that's pretty much fair to say. Yeah.
Coming up next, Titans coordinators meet with the media. You'll hear it live here on The Zone. Denard Wilson and Nick Holtz talking in just a few minutes. That's next.
It's Ramon and Kayla here for Window Nation. Kayla, where you buy 2 windows, get 2 windows free and pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years, man, because it's hot weather. It get kind of wishy-washy here in the mid-state, okay? So if you can actually touch your windows and feel what the temperature is outside, you probably need new windows. Thing about Window Nation, all they do are windows. So get yourself on the phone with them ASAP.
Yeah, that is right. At this time of the year, a great time to do it. I know some people even dealing, I know some of my friends, with AC outage.
Yeah.
That never is a good thing. You want to be able to have your AC working first and foremost and keep it in so you save money this summer. And you can do that with our friends from Window Nation. Look, they have over 20,000 online positive reviews. And when it comes to their window glass, comprehensive lifetime warranties on the entire window, including that glass. They've installed over 200,000 windows, so they know how to do it right. Right now, get in on their offer. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, plus no down payment, no interest, and no payments for 24 months. To check that out, you can go on to windownation.com or simply call 866-90Nation.
What's going on? 7:59. Good morning from Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. I am Robert Walsh, back out at training camp after a chippy first day in pads. Brian Callahan spoke yesterday to the media about the tension and that he was unbothered by the melee.
It is what it is. Like, it's football. I don't mind guys setting a tone with the intensity ramped up. And we just got to understand that we can play to the edge and we can still play within the rules. And fighting's a penalty. It's usually an ejection. It hurts our team. We can't have that. I think they're all aware of that, and that's essentially what the message was in that huddle.
Big contract in Chicago as DJ Moore and the Bears have reached an agreement for a 4-year, $110 million extension. Moore now has had the first 10 years of his career fully guaranteed, a first in NFL history for a wide receiver. His 4-year, $110 million extension is the largest deal in Bears franchise history. And some injuries from around training camp to keep you up to date on. Steelers rookie wide receiver Roman Wilson, who impressed early in camp, suffered an ankle sprain yesterday in practice. It is believed he will be ready for the start of the season in Detroit. Lions veteran defensive end John Kaminsky out indefinitely with a torn MCL, set to have surgery. Belief is that he is out 5 to 6 months, but for right now, the focus is on rehab. And if you missed it, Jets sign former tight end Anthony Ferkser. Former Titan. Jets initially signed Ferkser in 2017 as an undrafted free agent out of Harvard. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Way to go, Romo.
Second half of the show and hour number 3 starts right now on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW 104.5 The Zone. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, Robert Walsh, and Allen Kirby, our on-site engineers. Reed Smith is back in our 104.5 The Zone studios. Coming up in just a moment, Nick Holtz and Denard Wilson will meet with the media. That is coming up here shortly. Colt Anderson talking now. And we will get you to coordinators coming up in just a few minutes. Ramon Foster, let's go ahead and do this now.
Yay.
If you want to. We talked about, Kayla started the show correctly saying we needed good vibes at the practice field today.
Didn't last long.
Getting your Twitter account back would be the ultimate vibe.
We back.
All right,
Yes.
are we going to do this live on air? Have you already done it?
No, I haven't.
I know, I'm
here we go.
scared.
Well, should we stream this live on 104.5
that's a
The
lot
Zone
of pressure.
TV? As Ramon Foster gets his Twitter account back with 80,000 followers, we can all say goodbye to winning the RKW draft.
Yeah, man. We are so back. Looks good to go is what they're telling me.
I'm going to do play-by-play here. So login verification is now turned off.
Login verification.
When you're back into your account, yada, yada, yada. So,
what's his password?
so if you want to type in, is there a credit card number here?
Yes.
No.
Can I have that credit card number?
It's Amex Platinum, but no, you can't have that one.
One comment on YouTube says his password is Simmons Gang 2024. How did you know
Got
that?
no problem with that, okay? And during
his
the season,
password is I hate Buck, all right?
I know.
But with instead of the A, it's the at sign.
Or
Yes.
it could be Ramon doesn't forget what you guys say.
All right.
2024.
That man is an elephant.
Does that work right there? Does that work right
All right,
there?
here we go. So Ramon Foster is going to log out of the new account.
Should I log out of
Yeah,
the
you're
new
going to log out of the
No,
new
I can log
account.
in too.
Okay, add an existing
because I don't want to log out of this
Anyway,
one.
don't let me get in the way. I'm just doing play-by-play. I have no
That's a good
control
point.
over the
Yeah, you know what I'm
situation.
saying? Like
I'm just the play-by-play guy.
Yeah, man.
All right, so he's going to go in at Ramon Foster.
Not an A,
I'm not going to
man.
give away any
Okay.
confidential information. Everyone knows that's his old account.
Yeah. Make sure the password is right.
Looks like you have it in there.
I have
your
it
laptop
in
already.
where
We're
it's
going to
been
put
working.
your fingerprint in there.
Okay, I might have to type it.
He's going to go find his password.
Okay, all right. Well, give me a second.
There we go.
Dang, Ramon, I knew you were old, but it says your social security number is 1.
You know how else he's old, Robert? He's holding his phone in one hand and using his pointer finger to scroll with the other. If you are under the age of 30, you are not holding your phone. You are all absolutely. Yeah, what's wrong with you?
Hey, be cool, man. Be cool.
You probably have your text on your phone.
I'm a man.
40-size font
Ramon.
as well.
All right, here we go, y'all.
If y'all can joke about me being young, I'm going to joke about you being old. Here we go.
No doubt about it.
Would you like to save this password?
We back.
Oh, we're so back. It's so back.
There we go. Celebrate, baby.
Let's go.
Celebrate.
You did it.
I told y'all.
You did it.
I told y'all, man. Woo!
80,000 followers. He's back.
Okay, wait. What is the handle
Look
now?
at all the messages
Ramon Foster.
I got.
All right, so notifications.
gosh.
So Ramon has 16 messages. Ramon, it's 20-plus notifications. I wish we could see how many exact notifications you had. The number is at least 1,000?
Yeah.
At least 1,000.
Wild.
Put your mic back down. We can't hear
I know
you.
I was yelling too loud.
I know you were
yelling.
yelling.
I'm trying to be a radio
I can
pro
hear
here.
that too.
Woo! All right, you're going to have to run me through this two-factor authentication, though, for straight up.
I don't have that.
Well, no, how to set it up.
I don't have it set up.
You do.
No, I don't.
You do. Yes, you do.
Do I? Oh, no, yeah, I do.
Yeah,
You're right.
yeah. That's the only reason you're able and capable of getting on right
I
now,
love, by the
Will.
way, that as Titans coordinator Colt Anderson is speaking at the podium, every single person in the media shifted their attention from Colt Anderson to Ramon getting his
I
Twitter
want to
back.
go over the last
refollow
tweet
you.
that was on Ramon Foster's
Tell it,
timeline
Kayla,
because this is
tell
my
it.
favorite part of this kind of stuff.
Tell it.
Okay, so it was June 1st.
Yeah. I was in Georgia.
2023. Yes.
Yeah.
You retweeted, "Congrats on an incredible career, Brett," when Brett Kern retired. And then your actual retweet was from Mike Eckler, and it says, he said, "Doesn't get any better. Hall of Fame coach Fulmer Goat stops by my office and talks ball. Took a page of notes. Gotta love at-Vol football tradition." And Ramon retweeted, "The big man."
Big man. I remember it all.
Oh, my goodness.
That it
We
is.
are so
That it is.
Back on Twitter, at Ramon Foster. It has been changed on the RKW Twitter bio.
We back.
He is all the way back.
Did you put "we back"? Because I
All
got
the
to
way
retweet
back.
it.
I'm about to. You remember the John Campbell Demon Bat?
I was going to say, you've got a very, it's kind of like all of us that had to wait 10 years to pick our first play on NCAA football. It's a very, very big decision what your first tweet is going to be.
It is, man. And here's the reason for why also, too. We're on the other end now.
We got to go to the coordinator. So
snap.
just go quick.
But it's for this. It's for this job. It's for our exposure. It's for our brand.
Everybody eats.
More than anything, where everybody eats, man.
That's right.
So we got our Twitter back.
Well, while Ramon figures out what he's going to tweet with his first tweet back, here is Nick Holtz, Titans OC, meeting with the media.
That way, it really felt like the defense started faster than us, which we talked about as a unit. Hey, we got to start fast, meet their intention. You know, they kind of brought those, especially those first 4 or 5 plays, and then it really kind of settled in. So I think, you know, being a young line and kind of a young offense in general, just hey, you know, that guy was blocked without pads on. Now with pads on, he's on your edge and he's kind of going off to the side, and or hey, maybe they're, you know, that stunt hits a little differently when you're in pads and you're actually taking a kind of shot to the ribs. So I think it was maybe a little bit of a wake up or kind of a okay, yep, it is a new day. You know, pads is a whole different animal. So, but it wasn't anything that we were concerned about.
How did Will handle first week camp in your mind?
Will's been great. You know, he's really kind of, I thought Saturday, going back to the stadium practice, you saw some things that he did where he really kind of managed the situation well, you know, and then where there's, hey, maybe it wasn't there and he didn't force a throw into a bad coverage or things like that. And, you know, sometimes, you know, throwing it away or taking a sack is the right play, where I think sometimes last year and even earlier in the spring, he'd try to jam one in there, try to throw one into double coverage or kind of get off script and do some stuff like that late. So I think just the calmness that he's played with through the first week has been really good for him.
Corners seemed to really, there were a lot of flags, but in one-on-ones yesterday, very physical, seemed to get the better of receivers often. What were your takeaways from that period? Where do you go? How do you build off of that?
You know, like you said, there were a lot of flags, so I do want that on the record. But I think a little bit of the, you know, kind of the morning start to practice, first day in pads, you know, there's kind of like a adjustment period. And I'm not sure we totally matched that right at the beginning. And I think as the day went on, we got better. But, you know, watching it, there's watched all the releases. It was our first time really going against true press because we really haven't been allowed to press, with the rules in the CBA. So I think it was just kind of, especially for a lot of the younger guys, like, it is different, and that's okay. But there was nothing that we thought was egregious, if we weren't ready for. But they'll get better as we go.
Will, are there things that you're looking for, like when you watch them, you say, all right, he has made progress here? And, like, what are some of those things?
You say in regards to Will?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think, it was really cool. The Titans put out a thing of Will, kind of like a ground level shot of him throw to Tony down the sideline. And you really saw Will, how calm he was, like his upper body. He kind of was getting real tense up top, and he was kind of he's all over the place, and his eyes were down the middle. He held the safety the whole time, and you could see he was there. He knew exactly on time. He can count his hitches. He was there, one hitch there, second hitch to the Tony down the rail. And so for those things, like, that's huge progress, right? Of just eye control, manipulating defenders, that kind of thing. So I think that's where something for us as we watch the tape now, he knows the offense. He knows the plays. He knows where he wants to go. Now it's, how do I manage the defense I want to move the Will back or to throw the strike right behind him or something like that. So I think those are for him that he's really taken and all three of them have taken a big step, but especially Will.
Is it better to have, maybe you touched on this, but maybe a young quarterback who from time to time maybe have to rein in just a little bit as opposed to the opposite, having a guy who's afraid to take chances and you have to push a guy to...
Yeah, I think for young guys especially, it's learning that what is open in the NFL, that, having a half a body open on this way, that is open. So, they have to learn to take chances and trust it, play on time. So I think it's always easier to rein a guy in rather than to try to say, hey, you can take a shot here, you can play the situation. So I would lean that you'd want a guy that's more aggressive than less.
I know it's a new offense, so there's a lot of newness to it. But when you, Coach talked about avoiding boredom when you're teaching same routes to a guy like Hop, who's seen it a lot.
Yeah.
And even Will talked about, finding a new note when he's seeing something for the fifth time. What's your approach to that?
Well, I think the good part is, I think probably the last couple days, if you would ask the guy Saturday, Sunday, even into Monday, we've heard it all, right? We've heard it, okay, I know I got a slant, I know I got these things. Now with real competition in front of us and real life adjustments, I think the teaching is now, okay, if I get this guy in this position, now I've got him here, now how do I win? So that's really where the boredom the monotony goes away, right? Of the variation of defense. And you've seen, Denard, and they bring every pressure and every form of press coverage they could bring. So, they certainly give us a lot to handle.
Be a collective decision when decisions on who starter will be are made on the offensive line. How much do you think you guys will lean on Bill on what he's seen and maybe what he projects from guys at certain spots?
We would, Bill's obviously we would lean on him most heavily, I think, in all of those kind of decisions. Just he knows what he's looking for. He knows what he's seen. His level of experience is beyond all of us. So, I think we're obviously going to lean on him, but I think over camp and as we all watch the film together, I think we're all going to know who the five guys are and how all those guys are going to fit as the jumbo lineman and the seventh swing guy and the eighth guy on game day and who makes the team. So I think in the start of camp, it's always very, this guy could do it, this guy. And by the time you get the months over, you pretty much have it. Everybody's always on the same page, I feel like.
How's the process going of figuring out the rotation with Tony and Tajay and just kind of when to deploy each of them?
We really kind of just let them roll. So Randy Jordan does a great job, and we're still figuring out some of maybe the things that they kind of do better than the other one, So Randy's kind of letting them go drive by drive right now, and we've kind of let them both be really active in the pass game and in the run game. There's not a run scheme, not one's an inside zone runner and outside zone runner. We see them both, again, the same way. So I think maybe in the season it'll be kind of like a hot hand thing as the game goes on, but they're both going to have a huge role each game. So I can't say there's really been a concerted effort to figure out one guy or the other.
As you continue to roll through the install process, how big of a role has Tyler Boyd played in just helping the receivers, really grasp?
He's done a great job. Tyler just has so much experience in the system, and he'll sit there and he'll even help Will with, hey, so Joe saw it this way. This is what Joe would want. This, do you like this? Hey, do you want this? And just kind of opens up, for me not being in, with just really Brian and Tyler having a massive experience in this offense, the core of the offense. It's been awesome just for Will and for all the quarterbacks. And then the receivers, he goes out there and you watch him, he's talking the entire practice because they're either asking Tyler a question or Tyler's telling him something else. So it's been invaluable for us.
Malik seems to have shown a lot more pocket presence. Is that something that
who did you say, Malik? Oh yeah.
He seems to have shown a lot more pocket presence, the ability to stay in and look downfield for his target maybe than he has in the past.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the improvements he's made there?
I think you talk about last year and some of the things of stepping up into pressure, and I think the quarterbacks as a whole, but especially Malik, is doing a really nice job. You watched a couple of those ones from Saturday, and even yesterday, where instead of hitting the top of his drop and stepping up into pressure, he really kind of sat and settled at the top of the pocket and he's got the arm strength, and all of our quarterbacks have enough arm strength to where they don't have to take a huge hitch into it to get the throws. So it's really been something we've emphasized in individual. Coach Hardegree's doing a great job, and so he's really just playing at the top of the pocket, and then he's playing kind of on balance to be able to move within the pocket rather than hitting the 5-step drop or hitting the 7-step drop and taking that huge hitch back up. And where there's all these internal pressures, and for us, with Jeff and the big guys, T Sweat and those guys, the internal pocket, that's where kind of Denard wants us. They want us pushing up in the pocket. So for us, he's been able to stay right at the top, and it's been a point of emphasis, and I think they're doing a nice job.
That's good. Thanks
a lot. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And then had a confrontation with a radio guy. Just wondering where you think his mindset is, if something's going on with him.
Look, we don't condone fighting. Out here, we want to practice the right way. We talk about live on the edge, play on the edge, don't hurt the team. But we have a thing around here, especially on defense. All right, when you mess up something, okay, you address the problem, you make it right, and you move on. And that's what we're going to do. In terms of the off-the-field stuff, I have nothing to do with that, and I'm not going to comment on that.
How do you balance between setting the tone, the aggressive mindset that you want, and kind of towing that line and trying to?
Well, right now, and another thing we talk about, living on the edge. You play on the edge, but you don't hurt the team. And we want to play aggressive. We want to play knockback. We want to play on the edge. But when it comes to hurting the team, it hurts the team. Okay, and we don't want that. So we got to dial it back when we play on the edge, and then also with the teammates and everybody else. When somebody's on that edge, somebody else has to pull them back, and that's our philosophy, and that's how we go about things.
With Arden's impending situation, do you anticipate that you have enough at outside linebacker to kind of weather that storm?
We got the right people in this building, all right, and we'll address that when the time comes and see how that plays out.
Maybe who are some guys who are taking advantage of extra reps here early in camp?
Well, I think all of them are. Right now we're rotating guys in and out. They're playing, they're getting opportunities. They did an excellent job yesterday in press coverage and in our one-on-one period. The thing with those guys is it's not if it's one day doing it well, can we do it today the same way? Can we be consistent enough to do it every day? And if we do that, the guys will keep getting better, and then the guys that show up the most are the guys that's going to push the depth chart.
Brian Callahan, he had mentioned Kenneth Murray and just how he's making it difficult for them. How is he fulfilling just the vision you have for him when you guys brought him?
I love everything about Kenneth Murray. The biggest thing, in the spring, remember you guys just kept asking about the green dot. In reality, man, we told Frank Bush, myself, and the defensive coaching staff, the thing we want is him to have the green light, okay? And what that means with the green light is to cut it loose, to play with no fear, to play with no fear of making mistakes, and just seeing what he sees, believe it, and go. And then if he makes a mistake, as coaches, we could correct him to slow him down. But we want him to cut it loose, and that's what he's been doing. He's all over the field. You see it, he's sideline to sideline. With the pads on, he's so heavy on contact. But the biggest thing that I love about what Kenneth is doing is Kenneth is starting to take control of the huddle. He's starting to become a leader. People starting to listen to him, and guys rally around him. So as he keeps growing in his leadership role with all the other guys that we have, we become stronger as a defense.
You're right, because you see him pre-snap, it's kind of like that traffic cop. What is it in your experience with players that triggers that to be on their?
Well, the first thing you have to empower him. And that's one of the things that we wanted to do here is empower him to take that leadership role. Don't be afraid of it. And, you know, with leadership, it takes time, it takes practice. You have to be intentional in what you're doing. And he's being intentional in that role. And when we signed him, that was one of the biggest things that we said. We said, we want you to be a guy that when you stand in the middle of the field, everyone listens to you. And he's taking that, and he's getting better at it every day.
What do you see from Jack Gibbons that has kind of shown you that he's taken a step forward and to hang on to his job?
Well, you see Jack every day. I mean, he's making plays. He's another one, like he's believing what he's seeing, and when he sees it, he's coming downhill with violence. He's making plays in the backfield. We already know that he's a high-volume tackler because he's going to run. He's going to be sideline to sideline. But also in terms of the communication and then thoroughly understanding what he's supposed to do in zone coverage, how it all works hand in hand. I think Jack is doing an excellent job. I think all the linebackers really are doing an excellent job, and they all coming along. I think our coaches do a great job getting them ahead of things, and I'm proud of where Jack is right now, too.
What have you seen from Rashad Weaver in your time so far, and maybe what's he got to do to sort of take advantage of potential upcoming opportunities?
Weave just needs to keep getting better every day, right? You see his physicality at the line of scrimmage. You know, when he plays the end position, he can set force. He's violent. You see him, he's running to the ball. We can reduce him inside, and he can play with vertical knockback. I like where he is, too. All it is with all of them is about just confidence, right? The more you play, the better you play. You gain confidence, and then as coaches, when they play good, you highlight it, and you keep highlighting it, you know, so they can play with more confidence. They feel good about themselves. And I think Weave's in a good spot right now, mentally and physically.
From Sweat during the course of the first week, and maybe what's your message to him as he kind of starts out here?
Yeah, Sweat has done an excellent job in everything he does, really. He's a very smart player, and when you give him something, he can execute his assignment. But you watch him over the center, and you watch him push the pocket, you watch him get off the ball. When he puts his hands on guys, he can get rid of them, he can shed. The biggest thing now with him is what we talk about is just being in the greatest shape that he can be in. And what we're harping on is him finishing plays. So coming out the stack when the ball goes, no matter if the ball was stopped, we're going to let the runners after first contact go. Now, we want to see you come out the stack and go get it. And if the ball goes to the sideline, chase it down. But what is that also doing? It's building up endurance, right? It's building up physical conditioning, you know, so he can play longer, he can play harder, all right, and ultimately finish plays and finish games.
You expected from Shane Ray, maybe how much time it's been away from him since he last played?
Yeah, well, Shane right now, obviously just getting here, he's catching up on the defense, trying to learn everything. Obviously, when you haven't been in it and you don't have repetition at something, you're not going to be as fast. You're not going to be as sharp as you should be. But he's been diligent about learning the defense. He's asking all the right questions. Ben Bloom does a hell of a job with those outside linebackers, getting them prepared. And the longer he's around here in this defense, he'll get better.
What's your challenge with Jerry's relative to consistency when he's on one day and off the next day?
I think, he's a pro. Like, one thing you guys don't have the ability to see, when we do walkthrough periods, Legarius treats it like a game. Like, his intensity in walkthrough periods, is unbelievable. To me, it's the way he moves. I consider it, when you're in those walkthrough periods, you're getting mental sweat, mental focus. And he attacks those walkthroughs like it's a game. So he's never taking days off, really. It might not be getting the physical reps out here. And then if you sit and watch him throughout when he's sitting out here, if he has an off day, if you watch him, he's real intentional about what he's looking at, what he's seeing. He's asking the right questions, whether it's to me or Chris Harris or Steve Jackson, who's doing an excellent job. All of them are doing excellent jobs of teaching these guys. I love what Legarius is. And when he comes out here, you can see him. He just competes every play. And he loves football. So I think he's in a good spot. And I think that the formula we have for him is the best formula for him.
Not always practicing and Cheeto missing some time. Opportunity here to kind of develop some of your depth in the secondary. How is a guy like Jarvis Brown done at taking advantage of that opportunity?
Jarvis, once again, he's getting better too. He's a young guy, right? And you don't know what you don't know. Like, he hasn't played a lot of football, obviously not in the National Football League. So every day is something new. When the offense installs something, as we go through this install period, we get different things. So he's learning on the run. The thing I like about Jarvis is he doesn't make the same mistake. He attacks the day, like with that dog attitude. He's physical. He can play multiple positions. Now it's about him just sharpening his tool bag and giving him the tools to get better every day.
Be reunited with Jamal, and how hungry do you think he is coming here trying to prove himself once again?
Well, it's good to reunite with him. You know, y'all have heard me say this before. In terms of players, you're there to teach, motivate, and inspire. And even when the players leave, that doesn't stop. Jamal has been away from me for years, but we've always been in contact. Whenever there's been crossover film and you know, I'm seeing him on tape, if it was things I didn't like that he was doing, I would call him. I would text him. And say, hey, man, you need to get to this. The thing about Jamal is this. He is hungry, and he found a landing spot where he knows how he's going to get coaches by the guys that he's been around. But Jamal knows he needs to go back to the basics. And, you know, I always say this, you got to go back home. And what is home? It's when you're a young man, when you're in high school, and now you're working and you're doing your daily calisthenics, and you're doing all the little things correct to get yourself to the point that you get a scholarship, to get yourself to the point where you get to the National Football League. So with him right now, we're focusing on all the little things. You know, I think that Jamal, as he went on, became a home run puncher. You know, he was swinging big. And right now, it's time to get him back to the fundamentals that every day he's throwing a jab, he's leading behind the jab, he's cutting off the ring, and he's going to the body and breaking people down. And when he does that, all the little things are coming, then the home runs will start.
That is Denard Wilson, Titans defensive coordinator, meeting with.
Be marked, listen to me, 20% down. That's 20% below Genesis' already unbeatable price. This means you can buy like a dealer buys with deep discounts on over $10 million in stunning diamond rings. These remarkable savings are on every GI diamond engagement ring, from a half a carat to up to 20 carats. Yes, all shapes too. Rounds, princess cuts, cushion cuts, emeralds, oval, pear-shaped, doesn't matter. Remember, all Genesis diamonds are hand-picked, come straight from the diamond cutters, are graded by the GI, the most prestigious gem lab in the world. At Genesis, you know their everyday prices are unbeatable, but for this event, they're taking the vault to a whole new level with an additional 20% in savings. Don't miss this chance to save like never before on that exquisite diamond ring. So buy like a dealer buy, starting Saturday for a limited time exclusively at Genesis Diamonds. Listen, we'll limit one per customer. See them at Green Hills or Cool Springs.
It's RKW on 104.5 The Zone. Ramon, Kayla, and Will continuing here in hour number 3. And coming up in just a few minutes, practice will begin here from Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling. I have been given permission by Buck Rising, who still talks to us, has not blocked our numbers.
Oh, because
to
we didn't pick a
say
side?
that he has spoken to Jeffery Simmons today. The two have talked before the coordinator press conference began, and that he will have more info about that when his show begins at 10 o'clock. And that is all
Well,
we'll
good.
say.
I'm glad they resolved it.
But he did give me the thumbs up to say that they conversed. Buck Rising, who's in our tent, in our midst.
Around us right now, man.
Security is around him. They named Kirby Allen Kirby. He is the muscle, the Pepsi-clad
The Pepsi
muscle. That will help Buck Rising stay safe today.
Those muscles with a lot of Pepsi in them.
All right, defensive coordinator Denard Wilson speaking a few minutes ago. Maybe it's because it's the last thing we heard, guys, but I do think it was the most interesting thing that we heard. Denard Wilson and the Titans defensive staff encouraging Jamal Adams to get back to basics. We've spoken about a more humble Jamal Adams speaking with the media. They want to humble him in his way of preparation, I think, off the field as well as he is on it. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, it was, man. And again, whenever you find yourself at a struggle point in your career, this is what you do. Again, we speak about technique and the basics at all time, right? And when it comes down to guys figuring out how to be better pros, it's usually, man, I just need to go to basketball terms. I need to go work on my free throws to have a better shot. I need to work on my handles here. And it's always the basics, man. Again, at some point in your career, you do get too high on yourself at certain points in it. You know what I'm saying? And he's at the position now that he's established enough that he can somewhat go back to the starting line and figure out how he got to where he was, because he hit the league. I mean, you get drafted in early first round as a safety, you're a good player. It's a matter of figuring out what you're going to do moving forward and evolving a little bit too. His coverage skills, right? Something that's been lacking, the ability to stay healthy. Well, did you train up your workout regimen this summer? Like, these are all the things I'm sure Denard Wilson had as far as the conversation with him. And he even said, too, I think it's super unique and cool that a lot of coaches, when you run into them like that, they never forget you. He said he was calling them, was like critiquing them and giving them information about what he should be doing as a player. So I like that out of him. And we'll see what he turns into for the Tennessee Titans. But good to know that he's very familiar with him and willing to pour into him too.
And that's one thing that we've mentioned before on this show with this particular staff and how it was put together. A lot of the guys they're bringing in are guys they've had connections with, guys that they've coached before, guys that they put trust in or have maybe a little bit more not trust, but like hope that they can be something familiarity because they've seen it before. So you get the Jamal Adams with that, and then you get somebody like, I know Kenneth Murray, there's not a direct correlation with the staff with him, but it is something where they feel like they have the right guys in place to help get him to that level. And you're already hearing it. You heard Denard Wilson speak of Kenneth Murray, who we've talked about has had a good start to camp. And not only, have we been hearing how he's playing and how he's diagnosing quickly and they wanted to play free, but now he's starting to take on maybe a leadership role. Yeah. And the green dot whole conversation was exhaustive in the offseason. Yeah, but you are seeing, maybe there's a possibility that to start the season he gets that, or at least you're going to see some leadership out of this guy. And he said that in his opening press conference when he came here. He said, I do consider myself that guy. He's getting familiar with everything, and I think he'll grow into that role. But I'm super positive about that specifically.
Just real quick, too, to piggyback on these transactions that have happened, it seemed like ownership in the front office has allowed somewhat these coordinators, these coaches, these position coaches to somewhat selectively pick the guys that they want. Yeah. And that can go one or two ways. One is because they know it's going to work in their system, or it can backfire and say, why do we pick this guy? Exactly. And knowing that there was a better option out there. Did you go with the best for you or the best for the team? It's the only pushback I'll have on being able to handpick the peaches.
Sure, and that's what I'm saying. It will work or it won't work. And some pieces, they're not all going to fail. They're not all going to work. But at least with this new staff what you learn from and say, hey, we can't do that again moving forward.
Well, how much grace will be given?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question.
As far as these types of decisions.
Teron Davenport tweeting just a few minutes ago, no sign of Chidobe Awuzie, Jamal Adams, or L'Jarius Sneed as the Titans go through team stretch. Of course, that can change. Guys can come out who begin the practice inside the building. I think I need to see a little bit better day from the offense, considering they are going up against second-team corners. Mm-hmm. You don't have the top two corners out there, and you really couldn't tell watching yesterday's practice. I'm not overly concerned that the defense was better than the offense.
Right.
However, I am a bit more concerned considering you didn't have your top two corners as a part of that defense, and you're throwing it Trey Avery, respectfully, and Roger McCreary a little bit out of position, respectfully at times. The offense needs to look like it has its guys, and the defense doesn't today, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I think a lot of us, I'll speak for us, have been of the mindset, what is this day two going to look like as far as how they, to your point, will readjust to getting back to home base and just simply having good on good, man. And that's going to be crucial moving forward. I know those premier guys aren't out here. I'll say this. Being a guy that's been in a position where I didn't practice throughout the course of camp, I know it's possible. Is it the best thing that you want for a team that's trying to figure itself out? No, it's not at all.
615-737-1045. More from the Titans practice field and early observations we got for you coming up next.
So many people trust Two Rivers Ford. Football players, working moms, business owners. Why? Because Two Rivers Ford has been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
You ever wonder why so many pro athletes go and use stem cell therapy? Because it works. I'm Ron Slade, retired 14-year pro basketball player, and I needed to get this done. After I went through my entire career riddled with injuries, I needed therapy, so I went to Kellum Stem Cell Institute out in Franklin. Why? Because they're the stem cell specialists. They can be yours too. They're the stem cell specialists of the Tennessee Titans. You know why? Because it works.
Make an appointment today with Kellum Stem Cell Institute.
Wrapping up the third hour of the show, third quarter of your Wednesday morning, Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling. Titans practice getting started. If you hang out with us here in hour 4, we'll tell you everything you need to know about what is going on in front of us. Ramon, you noticed yesterday some, let's say, nuances of the Titans offensive line working together.
Yeah.
And specifically J.C. Latham and his footwork. We probably don't have time to go into the full intricacies of how you could tell when the Titans were passing or running just by looking at J.C. Latham's feet, literally between you and Brad Hopkins, who would just say run, and it was a run, pass, and it was always a pass. But what did you see from the rookie left tackle yesterday?
It's a tweak that I would have made, but I would allow him to make mistakes first to figure out, hey, you should listen and change this up. What I saw from him was most of the time in his sets, he would be in an athletic position, meaning shoulder width apart, even in his pass sets, Will. And I think as an offensive lineman at time, we have to get to a point that we don't care what they see. We got to go with what's going to be comfortable enough for us to win games and win play after play. We saw, and you saw it, and also our teammate here, Brad Hopkins, looked at me, and we both had the same conversation and said,
why is he doing his feet like that?
He needs to drop that left foot back some. Now, again, maybe they're trying some stuff out in practice. That is the other context that I don't have, is that I don't know if Coach Bill Callahan is having him stay more square. So his feet were square, shoulder width apart, and he was run setting out of it and also pass setting out of it. And that, to me, is why I think we saw Arden beat him around the edge a couple of times, quick and fast. Because, again, when you have your feet square to the line of scrimmage and you got a speed demon off the side like that, you're going to be a tick behind because you've already lost a step. And what I saw is when he made the adjustment and we saw Bill Callahan walk up to him, talk to him, and then next play, what happened? Well, you saw it. Everybody saw it.
Yeah, right.
He dropped that left foot back like a left tackle, like all left tackles do, and he met Arden Key at the point. Again, I don't know if he feels that confident in his square pass set or his square stance that he think he can get there. But I'll tell you this. At some point in time, the cheating of dropping that foot back will or should, I'll say should be a part of his resume moving forward, because it was beautiful when he dropped that foot back. And I'd feel idiotic if it was only me seeing this. But I talked to guys around it, and again, I mentioned Brad Hopkins also acknowledging Brad and me both were of the same. Like, why is his foot not backwards? Peep all the good left tackles. Bakhtiari was infamous for it, okay? I think Trent Williams is also dropping that foot back, and he'll get to a point where he's good enough that I don't care what your read is. He'll start to get to the point where he can body guys if he's square or if he drops his foot back. But it was beautiful watching him adjust and having success from it.
Kayla, Harold Landry was also back yesterday, and part of what J.C. Latham was dealing with was a very quick Harold Landry right off the edge. And that's something you noticed right when practice started yesterday.
Yeah, and something that I'm glad that I saw, the quick response coming from, out of the illness and whatever that might have been. He didn't look like he missed a beat. And that's how he looked in OTAs and mandatory minicamp. I remember seeing the first practice, I think, was in the bubble, and just the way that he was able to get out quick. And, we've always known Harold for that bend. That's something we've always, oohed and awed at it in terms of how he's able to get around the defender quickly. And I feel like I saw a lot of that yesterday. So good, positive sign with Harold that he's not going backwards at all. And I don't think any of us thought he was, because it had been known it was an illness, not an injury. But they're going to need that. And I stressed that, early on when we were talking with Rhett. You don't have Arden Key down for 6 games. And yes, that was still a question if he could be a 3-down guy anyway. But now that's one less opportunity for a veteran to kind of step up and take a stance. You've got to have production from Harold Landry regardless this year. And you had Rand mentioned it on our show, there are some young guys that have got to step up to the plate too, including a guy that has experience that's been away from the game for a minute, and Shane Ray, who's seemed to been off to a good start.
This was Brian Callahan yesterday talking about his edge rusher who was back at practice after dealing with some illness.
No, he looked great. He looked great. He's coming off an illness, and when your weight drops, it increases your chances for potential injuries, particularly soft tissue. And so we just make sure he was back to his normal playing weight and back out here. He looked like the Harold that I've played against before, and it was good to see him out there.
You need that even more with Arden Key reportedly having a 6-game suspension. That was obviously confirmed when Brian Callahan spoke to the media yesterday as well. I would be surprised if there was not another edge rusher brought in within the next week.
Yeah.
And once that first preseason game hits as well, you get guys who are going to earn a little bit of a closer look because GMs are watching other games going on in the league very closely. I would imagine that someone who flashes in camp, someone who flashes, heck, even in joint practices with the Seahawks coming up in a couple weeks, you get a close look at guys not on your own team, and you're more intimately familiar with guys who are on the chopping block who you may have a space for. So would certainly expect them to address that here in the coming days. I don't think, based on what we heard from Brian Callahan yesterday, the front office and the coaching staff were not surprised to hear that news. I think they've known that for a little while. Typically the way these things go.
It is.
615-737-1045. Coming up to start hour 4. Practice is underway. Who is here? What is happening? We'll tell you what we're seeing with our eyes right in front of us. Coming up next.
It's Ramon Foster here for Wesley Mortgage, man. I got to give you the website early right now. It's whywesley.com. Yes, WHYWESLEY.com, man. And all things starts with this with their owner, man, Chuck McDowell, local Nashville native who cares about this community and is proud to serve it all the time. Chuck, he reinvests in the people and the place that make Nashville such a wonderful place. So while other mortgage companies are downsizing, Chuck McDowell and the Wesley Mortgage team are rapidly expanding in Nashville, keeping people working in the career that they love, and they will love to have you join their team. Chuck and the leadership team at Wesley Mortgage have a support system in place to help you succeed in the mortgage business, ensuring your loans close on time, making sure you get paid, giving you back the time to build your business and bring back the fun to the mortgage profession. With unique networking opportunities with the Tennessee Titans and the Music City Grand Prix and others, they make closing deals and building relationships fun again. So, if you're in the mortgage industry and you're tired of the grind, tired of the pressure, and just tired of micromanaging everything to make sure your clients get handled correctly, then you owe it to yourself to go to whywesley.com.
3, 2, 1.
You know?
Yeah.
What's going on? 9 o'clock. Good morning from Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park as Titans practice is getting started back out here at training camp after a chippy first day in pads. Brian Callahan spoke to the media about the tension, and he was unbothered by the melee.
It is what it is. Like, it's football. I don't mind guys setting a tone with the intensity ramped up, and we just got to understand that we can play to the edge and we can still play within the rules. And fighting's a penalty. It's usually an ejection. It hurts our team. We can't have that. I think they're all aware of that, and that's essentially what the message was in that huddle.
To the NFC North, where the Bears and DJ Moore have agreed to an extension, 4 years, $110 million included with $82 million guaranteed. Moore has now had the first 10 years of his career fully guaranteed, a first in the NFL for a wide receiver. And some injuries to keep you abreast on. Steelers rookie wide receiver Roman Wilson, impressed early in camp, left yesterday with a ankle sprain. And in Detroit, Lions veteran defensive end John Kaminsky out indefinitely with a torn MCL. Believe he'll be out 5 to 6 months, but now his focus is on rehab. And if you missed it, former Titans tight end Anthony Ferkser signing with the Jets. He signed with the Jets initially in 2017 as a UDFA out of Harvard. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Fourth and final hour, 9 a.m. in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome in to Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW on 104.5 The Zone. With Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh and Kirby Allen Kirby here at the table. Practice beginning. Reed Smith back in our Midtown studios. You've got Buck Rising and Lucas Panzica, Brad Hopkins, Brent Doherty. A who's who? Don Davenport walking in right now as well.
What a hot coffee,
Now
Lord.
that is our security guard.
Lord.
Look at, there's a Ron Slay that has entered the building right now as well.
With somebody's
In the
kid,
building.
man. He's always got somebody's kid with him, too.
It's like the mama duck that's got all the little ducklings always following him.
Man.
That is Ron Slay, except not at a pond, at 3 practice fields in front of him.
That may be his former coach at Oak Hill Academy's grandson, though. I think that's who it is, Coach Smith's
Little
grandson.
athlete here.
Yeah, is that Coach Smith's grandson?
You know, his
That's what I thought,
balance
yeah.
is good. He's got the fighting necklace on. I love those
Yeah,
things.
he does. No, he's ready to go.
He can stand on one leg.
He's
and
got
you
the
can push
gum
him,
in
he can
his
stay on.
in his mouth here. He's ready to go.
Practice happening in front of us. No L'Jarius Sneed, no Jamal Adams, and no Chidobe Awuzie from the initial reports this morning. We will continue to update you on what happens with that. If you missed it as well, we can tell you that Buck Rising has talked with Jeffery Simmons. It was a positive conversation, and you will hear more about that when the Buck Rising show begins at 10 o'clock. We're not going to steal his thunder, and we were not in the conversation. So, of course, we are not the ones most qualified to tell you exactly what they discussed. I will say this, guys. If Jeffery Simmons starts throwing hands again today,
Gold balls.
Ramon shaking hands out here himself, not throwing hands.
Yeah.
If Jeffery Simmons gets in another altercation today, he needs to be off the practice field. Fair?
No.
Okay, why not?
Because what if he's not the one to start it?
Doesn't matter.
No, yeah.
After yesterday, he was the one to start it, and he needs to set the example for the guys in his room.
JC started the first one. JC started the first one. But again, these are also the processes that he have to go through during the course of a game, too. I'd much rather it happen right now when he understands next play. Like those, to me, those are the things he needs to be chirping to himself more than pull him out of practice, because he's wasting reps if that's the case. Like, now are teachable moments for coaches. And I ain't saying you're wrong. That's your opinion, Will. Yeah. And you stand firm on that, too. Yeah, 100%. That's my opinion that he'll miss valuable reps on the day that he's supposed to practice. I don't like the idea of booting him unless he's stomping somebody on the face. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think it will happen in that manner. I think if there's a little bit of a scrum, that's different from a fight.
Yeah.
Like what we saw yesterday was elevated. in that case, you at this point would probably have to sit some people aside, whether it be him or somebody else. I don't even care if it's not a 2-time repeat offender from yesterday. If somebody does that and takes it to that level, I think you got to go sit down. But I'm cool with the scuffle. I'm cool with like kind of, hitting pads or whatever it might be. That's the intensity of practice. I want to see that. You heard Denard Wilson say, we want to see that. It's just the taking it to the fighting level where I think you got to start, sitting people down. But I don't think that's going to happen after yesterday.
In that, though, I will say having everybody show up to the party in that moment, even if it was D-Hop and Calvin Ridley just patting guys on the shoulders, like lightly, jokingly, trying to pull guys out, I thought that was a fair thing for everybody to be involved. Again, this is where teams are made at when you have these types of problems, right? It ain't cute. It's ugly to see, and I'll tell you this much, it was exciting.
I'll tell you, if it's a scuffle, that's one thing, right? Like if you have pushing or shoving after the whistle, that's fine.
Right.
If Jeffery Simmons does something today that would get him ejected in a football game, he needs to be ejected from the practice field.
And that goes for anybody.
That is the line I'll draw. Because I don't know if that's the case for everyone else, because Jeffery Simmons threw a punch yesterday and was told by officials, you would have been ejected for that, and then he wasn't ejected. So if you want him to learn from that in practice, like Ramon is saying, like we're all saying, if you want to learn from it, clearly you haven't learned from it if you're doing it again today. So maybe the way you got to learn is by being in the sandpit or not being in practice. Again, I'm probably borrowing trouble, and it probably won't happen today, and that's fine. That's Sports Talk Radio. We got 4 hours to fill. We're having a conversation. We can disagree, and it doesn't have to be an explosive moment, and that's great. I do think that a message has got to be sent today that things have got to go differently today at practice in a couple of different ways than they did yesterday.
And I think it was. I think I trust Brian Callahan, to let him do it on the field yesterday. He said, we don't want to do fights moving forward. I believe the players would respect him enough to take that to heart. Again, a scuffle is one thing. A fight, throwing, punches is another thing. And whether it be Jeffery Simmons, if he were to do it again today, or if it was anybody else, I think you have to use yesterday as a whole as a lesson, saying we can't be doing that and wasting and taking time away from practice with that stuff.
We got one tweet from a guy, TG on Twitter, who says, practice. We're talking about practice. Yes, because NFL practice is more interesting than the regular season and even playoffs of 90% of other things that happen in the sports world. So yes, absolutely, we are going to talk about practice.
Yeah, 100%. It's a talk. NFL Network posts fights on video. on TV. You know what I'm saying? So this is all a part of the growth and progression of building a team up, man. I'm not going to get away from that. I stand firm on the fact that I know some really good guys that got real bad attitudes on practice fields. Yeah, that's fair. And to me, I love this, and maybe I'm a sicko, okay, in the idea that I know what comes at the end of training camp with this type of stuff happening. It's team camaraderie. Like, we want to understand how teams are built.
Yep.
This is a part of I fight you, you fight me, and guess what? We're going to go into that building, have lunch together, and laugh, or somewhat still maybe a little tense. But it grows, it sharpens. This is where your calluses are built up over the course of the season. You don't want a bunch of lap dogs out here, man. And this is normal.
The one opinion I will not hear any of this morning is anyone saying Buck had it coming and deserved to be nearly physically confronted yesterday because he's unprofessional or because he's too much of a cynic. Like, it's a nuanced discussion. Buck was, I think, too sensitive in his initial response to Jeffery Simmons' tweet when the Jamal Adams stuff happened. That's fine. They've talked it out, and Buck will have more on that. But if you're coming into our chat or in our Twitter today saying things like, Buck had it coming and this is why Buck should be out and Buck's too negative, you have a fundamental misunderstanding of how this works and how this job works and what he does. Just leave all that at the door, please. I don't need to see that. I don't want to see it. I literally have zero interest in seeing Buck Rising had it coming. Miss me with all of that. That is completely and utter crap is what that is.
Yeah, I'm of the mindset with this one, man. Everybody is free to have their opinion.
Absolutely.
And I'll even go a step further. I thought Buck's tweet about Jeff, hey, let's stop the fighting and get back to a productive practice. I thought that was fair to me. So here's the difference in what Buck tweeted yesterday versus Buck reacting to the tweet 3 weeks ago, right? Buck was specifically talking about his job and the idea that having a productive practice may need to be, hey, step back. Let's not you get involved, because if you get involved, Arden is coming right behind that. Kenneth Murray
And
is
Arden
coming
doesn't really
right
have a
behind
platform to
that.
stand on right now.
You know what I'm saying? So I thought Buck's tweet yesterday was very appropriate in saying, let's have a productive practice. And I think that's when we saw the first time in our with our own eyes, Coach Brian Callahan going the heck off. Because of that, no coach. And they'll love it watching film, and they'll laugh about the guys that didn't show up to the fight and stuff like that. But that's where we saw Coach Brian Callahan step up and really take control of all things around this practice. I thought that was a very fair tweet from Buck and deserved no malice behind it, man. It was great assessment. And to get back to a productive practice, I like both sides of it. And, again, I think Buck and Jeff won yesterday with the amount of exposure that they got. Buck got bad exposure, Jeff did. Buck got good exposure, Jeff did also, because as many folks that want to go back at Jeff about it, a lot of folks went at Buck about it too. It's on both sides, and God, I'm that close to going at somebody right now, Will, but Kirby said be a pro.
There is lots to analyze that is happening on the practice field in front of us. We've said our piece throughout the show about what's happened after practice and off the practice field. We'll spend the rest of the show talking about what's going on between the lines.
By the way,
you've got one finger.
We've had a lot of bad stuff happen. The connection between Will Levis and Traylon Burks down the field.
Let's talk about that next.
Was that not beautiful?
It might have been one of the only beautiful things in the offense yesterday. We'll talk about what happened a little bit more yesterday, what you want to see today on the practice field. One-on-ones are happening in front of us. We'll tell you what we are seeing coming up next.
It's Ramon Foss for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, letting you know today is the last day where we celebrate Hiller's 34th birthday, man. Yes, it's their 34th year in business, man, and they're bringing the birthday bash to you for one more day, all right? Where you can get a free thermostat with select new HVAC systems, free water tests in your home to check out those impurities so they can help you out. A lot of different ways to fix that inside your home. Trust me on that one. Free leak detection and shutoff valves with tankless water heaters. And if you buy 10 landscaping lights, they'll give you 2 free and help you install them also. Again, finish this month out with celebrating Hiller's birthday bash, man. You can get more details at happyhiller.com.
Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW live on 104.5 The Zone from Tennessee Titans training camp. Practice getting started, one-on-ones happening, and little team period getting started with Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson. I'm Will Bowler. You talking to the refs over here? You're talking
he's a VFL, man.
You're talking to the ops. Okay, he's not an
a
op.
VFL. No, he's not an op.
Handoff, Levis, play fake, throwing left.
Good by JC on the left side.
Hopkins.
You see that drill that we saw last week where he pushed him by the quarterback? He did exactly that. That's a Bill Callahan thing there. As far as pass protection, I get happy about those things, Will. My bad.
So, again, we will narrate practice as we see it. Fans are here. Media's here. And we can tell you what we're seeing.
Yes,
so just hang out with us until 10 o'clock, and that's exactly
I
what
will
we'll
say
do.
the offense just did push-ups.
Yeah, because Will Levis had an overthrow there for a second, man. So punishment, man.
Well, push-ups here out here in this
Could that also
day.
mean that there's a new member of the offense? Maybe they have the same tradition as the defense, who said last week that when a new member of their defense joins them, they do up-downs.
By the way, can I get a quick O-line update real quick, too? At right tackle is Leroy Watson and not John Njoku.
At tackle.
Yeah,
so that
right
was
tackle.
that is something we saw a little bit yesterday because they're in a jumbo package.
Yep.
Bill Callahan spoke about that on our show, that in addition to training guys at different places, if you're going to be the swing tackle, you are also the jumbo set tight end. So when you come in goal line packages, I think that's an interesting caveat, guys, right? Because Dennis Kelly was that as the pass-catching extra tackle in a lot of circumstances. But Ramon is right that John Njoku has started as the jumbo tight end today, and it looks like Leroy Watson gets the first crack at right tackle.
Yes.
So that's a little bit of news.
And another change with the ones, too, because Will Levis is still in this game. Sadiq Charles is out, and now you got Dylan Radens at right guard also.
And we've seen a little bit yesterday at right guard.
Yes, we did. I didn't know they were going to move him out
Yeah.
and in this quickly throughout the course of the practice. Did we miss the big run by Tony Pollard, too? Right there, did we announce that one?
Did we?
We don't think we did.
An explosive run right there 2 plays ago from Tony Pollard. Man, again, I think we're having a productive practice again, and it's still physical very much out here, too. It's not like anybody's taking a back seat to what's going on. A little bit more flow today, I would say, Will, Kayla.
Yeah, absolutely.
Saw less dropped footballs and one-on-ones.
Well, we had 1 or 2. Yeah, you're right, though. Gabe
Less balls
Julie-Lally,
hit the
Will.
ground. Yeah, Gabe Julie-Lally with a pass breakup on DeAndre Hopkins as Will Levis goes deep and finds Calvin Ridley for a diving catch. This is already much crisper from the offense than what they started at this time yesterday.
Yeah. By the way, I'm hoping it translates over to the regular season. Hear me out. On that play, Will Levis did complete it to Calvin Ridley, but Harold Landry was in his lap again right there and pulled up. And, of course, nobody touches the quarterback. That would have been a sack right there. That is something they have to fine-tune here moving forward, man. Other than the fact, again, that Harold Landry looked to me that he's back to his old self. Is that the way you guys are seeing this one?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier in the show, I mean, he didn't skip a beat from yesterday getting out here after missing a whole, 3 days or so?
Yeah, that counter play.
Here's Mason Rudolph. They're going to pull a couple guards. And, of course, Jarvis Brownlee is in there to hug Hassan Haskins. What about the running back 3 battle? Hassan Haskins and Julius Chestnut. We touched on it a little bit yesterday. Yeah. Anyone have an advantage?
I would say what's interesting about the two, and I like both of them, Hassan's a little bit of a bigger back than, obviously Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. But even, with Julius Chestnut being kind of the same size as the other two, you look out here and you see some of the work that you're getting from Hassan Haskins, and he does come across a little bit of a bigger back. I don't know if they'd want to mix that up just to have a little bit of a difference with the physical side of things. But, Julius Chestnut has held his own and has proven that in the last year or so when they have utilized him.
I would honestly go advantage Hassan Haskins for this reason right here. Julius Chestnut put the ball on the ground yesterday. And at that position, and y'all know how fragile, y'all know how you can't touch the quarterback's arm.
Rashad Weaver touching Mason Rudolph as he throws. A little fumble back there.
He won. Coaches will see it on film.
Got to let the play finish out.
Let the play finish down because it's not just about you getting that sack right there. It's about watching the play down the field, too.
Well, that's a question, though, for you then, because there are guys that are eager to try to win a spot, and this is a wide-open spot. So how do you, have the aggressiveness but still being able to tame yourself from not doing exactly what he just did.
You can't win it by sacking the practice quarterback. There are no sacks in practice, okay? As far as being able to touch the quarterback, and I know Mason's the backup quarterback. I'll be just as mad as that was Will Levis or Malik Willis. Practice in general is about the flow of passing down the field, seeing that, because Denard Wilson and his defense need to see where Nick Westbrook-Akina was on that completion right there. So those are the things, Kayla, that you think you're getting an advantage by winning that play, by touching the quarterback's arm, but coaches are just as ticked off about that as they are about somebody fighting.
Yep.
But back to my original point, Hassan Haskins, to me, gets the edge a little bit on that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'd rather see, like I said, I like what you just said about that. Every opportunity matters. You can't be making a lot of mistakes out here.
Yep.
And he made a mistake last year with clearly the stuff that happened off the field, but, he's getting a new shot at it this year.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Mason Rudolph continues to operate as the quarterback. They're going to huddle up again and take a brief timeout. The ones already off the field in their first crack at the team period that is beginning this morning. Interesting watching the inside linebackers, guys. Chance Campbell and Garrett Wallow, the two that are out there. Wallow, a undrafted guy last year out of TCU. Anyone want to take it? I'll take it.
Go ahead.
Frog.
Oh, my bad. Well,
no, that's all right.
Lost track.
I lobbed it up.
I wasn't even thinking TCU.
The way my jumping skills are right now, I missed that one, Will. My bad,
I'll dunk it myself. I'll take the 2 points.
Pass it on the ground.
Mac would have had it right away.
That's right.
Give me the layup right there.
Coach Mac at 7:20 again tomorrow, by the way.
Yes.
Just a little note on that. All right, here come the ones again. Here comes Will Levis back into the huddle. Let's just call a play here.
And it's fair. Also, now you also have Sadiq Charles and John Njoku back at right tackle.
Those of you watching on Zone TV know we cannot turn the cameras around. You're going to look at us, watch practice.
I got
another critique against it. We have got Levis. I won't tell you what formation he's in because, again, I'm not allowed to do that. Here is Levis, going to throw over the middle. Ridley caught. Little quick pass, little quick cut.
There we go. Picked up some extra yards.
I like Tavondre Sweat coming back to make that tackle. Denard Wilson talked about that with the media earlier this morning, saying Tavondre Sweat has been great in everything that he has done. We want him to finish every play and be in as good a shape as he can be. I think a lot of the conditioning, guys, for him, instead of running, instead of being on the treadmill, instead of hitting the assault bike, which is my least favorite piece of gym equipment,
live reps,
is him just running through the end of the play, because getting your steps in that context is going to get you in shape.
You ever seen a pit bull attack a chihuahua?
I can't say that I have.
That's what it would have looked like if Tavondre Sweat had hit Calvin Ridley right there. Okay.
Up the middle, we got guys on the ground. Nothing crazy.
Pollard?
Run up the middle to Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard. He can do it.
Sometimes you don't even
seen that video. You got.
I have not seen that video.
It is a viral clip. Reed, can you find that for us? The grandmother, the Tony Pollard old woman clip. It is literally, I can't believe you haven't heard of this. So we're going to need to add this to the board. Anytime Tony Pollard does something good, we're going to give it this sound.
Yeah.
For the rest of camp and for the rest of the season. This is like electric content. Reed's
I'd like to speak on something real quick, too. I think the defense right now has gone about 4 or 5 plays in a row, and Tavondre Sweat hadn't come out yet either.
He's still on there. Got his hands on his, but he's still on there.
I mean, yeah, that's part of the play for big.
Here is Levis. Back at it. Move some guys around. And we got a flag.
I'll see if I can find Brad Hopkins here in a little bit, but it looks like J.C. Latham has tweaked his stance just slightly.
Interesting.
That left foot is back just a little bit, and it's so much more, y'all, to it.
All right, after this play, I'm going to play you the Tony Pollard grandmother. I don't know if it's his grandmother, but it's a grandmother.
Another handoff?
Someone's grandmother. So this is an old woman watching a Cowboys game after a Tony Pollard touchdown, and then says this.
I don't know who playing, bro.
Tony Pollard. He's the man. He can do it anytime.
Oh, wow. It's amazing. She even got the words right. Not really.
That audio.
That's great, though.
Much.
Beautiful.
That's
beautiful.
He's the man.
That's so sincere right there.
She was into it.
Dylan Radins is at left. No.
Be careful.
He's at right guard still.
I would just say they are cross-training a lot of guys this morning. Will Levis has been with the offense twice, and we've seen 2 different combination.
And that's something
they
they
trying
mentioned
different things.
at the start of camp that they were going to do.
Little
So
screen.
Tajay Spears
Gets by Simmons. Jeffrey would argue that he would have tackled him if this was full contact. Of course.
A lot of people will say like that's a bad look for the offense with how quick they're swarming to him. Right? Again, they share scripts. Man, and as the defense is always going to beat the offense for the most part in practice, unless they're just, hey, you call and I'll call based upon what you guys
like
formation.
An offensive guy.
Yeah, I know, man. Because the defense has been dominant today, which I love.
I don't think they've been as dominant today as they were at this point yesterday, though.
That's
you knew from the start it was going to be a defensive day.
Yeah.
Here's Malik Willis, guy a lot of you are interested in, and for good reason. And, again, without getting into too many of the specifics on the formation, on guys who are in motion or not in motion or what have you, we are barred from doing that.
Yeah.
It does appear that there's a bit of a different script when Malik Willis is in the game. And you did not get that sense previously. This is not Malik Willis running Will Levis's offense.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that this staff is maybe putting him in a position to do things a bit differently to fit his strengths. Is that fair?
That's smart coaching, man. I know I probably sound like I was complaining and, not putting the onus on a guy.
It's a low throw. Did Jaquan Jackson catch that? Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I'm saying our VFL rep
said he says that's a catch.
Diving catch from Jaquan
by
Jackson.
the Tulane.
What did the kids say when he make a catch like that?
Give me that. Dot! Give me that. Wide receiver says, give me that. The quarterback says, anyone playing Madden? Dot.
No doubt about it. Man, it's super fascinating, though, watching these groups do, man. But, what I was getting at is the coaches, right, Kayla? Like, you got to be able to set players up for success, too. And there is a conversation that, hey, sometimes you got to overcome coaching. But being in the position to be successful first, it seems like is what Malik Willis has going on right now.
It's the right staff. I mean, offensive staff, right? Brian Callahan, quarterback-friendly type of player or coach.
Yeah.
So I feel like he said it yesterday to us, too, when he talked to us. He goes, I'm learning some things I haven't learned before.
Yeah.
Which is encouraging to hear.
Yep.
I'll, in defense of the previous staff a little bit, though, too, to play devil's advocate, it's not your job to cater an offense to the third-string quarterback.
No, it's not.
But I don't think they made any mistakes by not
putting
putting Malik Willis in that scenario, because Malik Willis hadn't earned the right to have his own offense, right? Like you're learning a pro-style system. It's trial and error. At this point, this staff has seen enough of Malik Willis to know, all right, he's got to have a different script because he can't handle the Ryan Tannehill.
And he said yesterday about Hugh Freeze in that offense, he said, this is completely different at the NFL level from anything I had in college. Yeah. And he admitted it, right? I think it's just this staff has been more, and you're right, they don't owe that to him. But he's benefiting from this for sure. And I think that's awesome because we hadn't really seen a ton of growth in the past 2 seasons from him.
I'll push back just slightly on that one just because coaches got to understand their personnel. That's where saying, okay, am I versed enough to be able to have different sets for different guys? Because what's the issue if one of those guys in front of him go down? You still need to be able to call plays for the team that's going to have him be successful. And that's not a big toolbox for him either to say, hey, this is the Malik section. No, there are plays for all the quarterbacks that are capable of running a rollout, that are capable of using their legs. Will Levis can use his legs, fine.
Right.
But you got to call those plays specifically for the guy that does those things well. And the use of Malik Willis's legs, it seemed like that is something that the staff has been showing that they're going to be able to call for him if he's put in that position. And truth be told, he's going to have to play in the preseason games.
One thing that is certainly different about practice today, you heard Bill Callahan on our show yesterday say that the script was going to be a lot of basic run plays and designs to get the offensive linemen out of their stance, aggressive and physical without having to think.
Yep.
I think today we have seen, again, without getting into a world of specifics, more of what this Titans offense will look like, a lot more quick passes.
Oh, my.
In this first segment of practice. And, again, team period's just beginning. They're taking a little bit of a break right now as they do at the end of a period, which is usually about 8 to 10 minutes of work. But I think certainly the quick game from Will Levis, from these dynamic receivers who can beat man coverage quickly off the ball. That is the Brian Callahan offense to a T in one sentence. We're seeing more of that today. We're seeing the quick game. We're seeing Will Levis get the ball out quickly. It's not as basic of just run, be physical, and attack. This is more, I think, what the Titans offense will want to look like once week one starts in Chicago.
I remember when we got introduced to this in Pittsburgh through Todd Haley. I was anti, like, why are we dinking and dunking, man? But you know what that does? Gets the ball in the athlete's hands super fast.
Exhausts the defense.
Yes, the heck it does, man. And then it also sets them up down the field more than you actually think it does, too. Look at what Cincinnati did with T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Jamar Chase, right? They throw those quick outs, and when you got the athletes to get upfield, like that, golly, I'm getting chills thinking about that. When you think about that, well, I ain't gonna lie, we had some good with them, Will, but I was anti it.
I was right for a little bit.
Yeah, you were right for a little bit. I was anti it for a little bit, just on the basis of, man, we need to go down the field. Here's the thing about it: it's like baseball. I'm always correlated to baseball. Okay, Will, I can try to hit a home run all the time, right? But if I can hit those singles and doubles and
deep
triples,
ball.
Ooh.
Diving
he
catch.
held on to that.
Tyler Boyd.
Tyler Boyd, what a jump there.
Roger McCreary.
Wide receiver 3, right?
Watch your head. That is a beautiful ball by Will Levis to the sidelines, and a great catch by Tyler Boyd.
As you bragging on that, let me brag on Lloyd Cushenberry right there. Had Tavondre over him right there. And
so you're watching, just to be clear, 7-on-7 is what we're watching. You're watching the one-on-ones with the offensive line and defense.
Sadiq Charles is up right now. Beat him inside. And late shed, quarterback able to move.
That's Marlon Davidson, the former Auburn Tiger that he was working against.
Now, here's what we all need to see right here. This is John Ojoko against Harold Landry.
You watch that. I'm going to watch 7-on-7 over here.
I'll report back.
Will Levis and the ones continuing against the ones on defense as practice continues. We'll get an update on that in a second as
Josh
Levis
Wiley
quickly finds Josh Wiley with coverage by Amani Hooker. A little short 5-yard completion there.
And he's having a good camp so far.
They're working on third downs right now in 7-on-7. So
They've
you're looking
worked
at
a lot on that.
You're looking at about 3rd down and 5, 3rd down and 4. The focus at the moment. So, again, 4 or 5-yard completions. We're fine with that here. What did you see from John Ojukwu?
John Ojukwu yesterday I thought got worked yesterday by Harold Landry. Today he had his hand set and ready. He was quick to his point. He punched him and moved him around the quarterback or the fake quarterback that was sitting right there. So, John Ojukwu won that rep to me. That's very encouraging to see his adjustment. Again, one bad day doesn't mean you suck.
Here's Levis throwing right. That's going to be close to the first down stick. It's a pass complete to Tony Pollard, he can do it. It
is going to be stuck in my head.
Yes, it is.
Another thing we talked about yesterday with, them being utilized as receivers this year. Still think Tyler Boyd will probably be that number 3 receiver in terms of yards, but it'll be interesting how that breaks up between Pollard and Tajay, who both have proven early on they can do it so well in the pass-catching game.
Yes, 100%. It's good to see them hit that focus point already, too, Kayla, where it's not a surprise or an emergency when you're using these guys in these basically sets right here.
Let's go rapid-fire questions in the F&M Bank chat. You can hop in on YouTube. Ask us who you want to see. What's going on? We'll tell you. Here's Levis going deep. To the end zone. Traylon Burks.
Got it.
Oh, again
is there
a big
flag?
And the ref is waving his arm for completion.
There's no flag.
No flag?
There was a little bit of a shove.
Where's Ron Slay at?
From Traylon Burks, but Traylon Burks with about a 30-yard catch right there over the top of the defense, winning one-on-one in man coverage. That is the biggest thing I want to see from Traylon Burks this year. I've said it so many times this summer. Be the deep threat guy because you are a walking mismatch.
Yes, sir.
Every time you are in man coverage one-on-one, catch the ball when it is thrown to you deep down the field. That's exactly what he just did.
And see, Will, that's not a bad thing, but you asking him to do his job better than most because he has attributes that allow him to do that, right? Like, that's the beauty of
not a bad thing.
Of training camp is having these guys show these skills, which is why I was somewhat ticked off by guys hitting the quarterback arms in these settings right here. Like, let them throw and complete these passes.
All right, 2's back in the field. We can tell you as well, L'Jarius Sneed is here. Again, he was not out there for the beginning of the stretch portion of practice. He is on the sideline with a helmet in hand. We got a flag here and a defensive holding penalty against Gabe Judy Lally on a ball that was intended for Nick Vanette. That was incomplete. But again, that is defensive holding on Judy Lally and the flag thrown from the back judge there. Again, to questions of the F&M Bank chat on YouTube asking if you can see the field. No, you cannot. We would be sent home and not asked
There
back.
is a sign that says no streaming live out here.
Cannot give you video. We can just simply give you some, within the regulations, observations of what we're seeing. We're going to do one more play here, then go to break. And hopefully by the time we come back, the ones will be back on the field. You got a Traylon Burks versus Gabe Judy-Lally matchup right in front of us with Mason Rudolph, the quarterback, as 7-on-7s continue. And an incomplete pass coverage by Caleb Farley.
Hey, I'm going to say this before we go to
nice.
break. J.C. Latham can move his feet really, really good for a guy that's 350 plus. And that leg going back, I'm sure Brad is down there salivating, man. He just won a rep right there, a really good rep.
And the note on Caleb Farley, Rhett said it earlier, he's been kind of quiet the first couple of days. He's made a couple plays here and there. It's really good to see. He's healthy, but now we're starting to hear his name a little bit.
Yep.
When we come back, we'll tell you what you missed from Titans training camp. My legs will continue to be eaten by bugs. We'll have lots more fun here on RKW. RKW, Ramon, Kayla, and Will wrapping up the show on a fine Wednesday morning.
Yes.
Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling. Titans practice happening. Malik Willis is throwing fastballs.
Yes.
There ain't no changeup coming out of his hand right now.
He's throwing fastballs, and Chig with 2 big catches, too,
back
from
to
Levis.
Pass, throws down the sideline, incomplete. Our friend James on Twitter said, this is us describing all the things happening at training camp, and it was a dog with like 100 tennis balls around him.
Yeah,
that is the perfect way to describe it.
It is.
It's like 80 things going on at once.
Final hour of our shows when we are out here.
Can we say how spicy Josh Wiley is, too?
Oh, yeah. He said he was confident coming into this year. He's been that way since OTAs. Man.
Hey, that young man is getting after it, okay? I'll just leave it at that, man.
And his plays backed it up to this point.
It has, man. But Malik not only throwing fastball, Will, but dotted it, too. Like, location has been some, even on that back shoulder fade.
Yeah.
You were able to at least play the ball.
I think it's minor. I know this, and people are like, oh, don't overreact. But I really do think it's been a different step for Malik in this offseason. And just we're seeing different things from him, and confidence-wise, too. I think he's kind of building off some of this momentum he's had in the first few practices. I don't know. I think Lauren from NBC asked yesterday Lauren Walsh asked about the QB2 battle.
Right.
And it's not like Brian Callahan said it's not anything.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I know we had the special team coach talk earlier,
Colt
too.
Anderson.
Colt Anderson, special team coach. I will say I'm very interested in seeing how some of these rules new rules for this kickoff is going to look for these teams, because as it stands, I don't think they've done it live in a lot of reps where we've seen it, but there's a lot of intangibles, man, as it pertains to where you receive the ball, so I want to see how he's going to be coaching it up this year.
And you're not going to get any looks at what that really is going to look like in preseason, because every coach is hiding that under lock and key.
Yeah.
If there's one thing that they would just snipe us for talking in too much detail about, I think it would be that, considering that I think there is some secrecy as it pertains to what kickoffs are going to look like right now in terms of that. Like, you can go back and look at what old Brian Callahan systems look like. And although we are hiding things from you here, you can go watch Cincinnati in the past to know kind of a little bit of what this offense is going to look like. No one has any film on how an NFL team is going to handle the new kickoff, so that is going to be top secret.
And I know, I think I mentioned this a while back, but somebody had texted me when they announced the joint practices with the Seahawks, and somebody with the team saying there will be maybe some working on some of that special teams kickoff stuff during those joint practices. So we'll be interested to see how that all looks and plays out.
I'm guessing some visuals have gotten out about Kenneth Murray and Josh Wiley. Yeah, they have been going at it. I think it's healthy. They had a little back and forth yesterday too.
Yeah, I have
nothing crazy.
Yeah, nothing too crazy.
Nothing like yesterday.
If his arm did go wow. They both diffused it, and I have a feeling they've been pegged as the two dudes that must go against each other almost every single day.
And I like that. It makes them both better, right?
I don't think there's any malice behind either one of those
I'm okay
guys.
with that kind of.
A couple people asking about Arden Key, if he is out here. He is. Yep. Interesting the way this staff has handled the PED suspension compared to how the Mike Vrabel staff handled NPF's suspension for gambling last year. NPF immediately started working with the threes last year when the gambling suspension came down. Without going into too many specifics, Arden Key is still going about his business in the same way despite his suspension. Is that odd? Is that the right decision by the staff to continue trotting him out there with the ones, although he's suspended for the first 6 games?
I think they'll taper it back the closer we get. And here's the other thing, too. He's coming back at some point. And then he also has to go through appeals process, so you don't know if that's going to get reduced, et cetera, et cetera. So it's business as usual until it gets closer to game planning, and I think doing these preseason games. But I've also had coaches that said, I'm going to drive your you-know-what into the ground until I can't no more. So I don't know if that's also his stilo.
I just think this is also something we're learning in live time with this new staff. There's a lot of things that we don't know how Brian Callahan does things and Denard Wilson does things because they're first-time head guys here.
Yep.
So these are things we're learning in live time just like y'all are. So we don't know. Maybe Arden continues to take the reps with the ones. One thing I will say, he's been a little bit more quiet today than in the past.
Well, I've seen him with that defensive arm shove. That he
maybe his physical things have not been quiet, but maybe his voice.
You can't change the stripes on the tiger, can you? He's always going to be there. But that's not I'm saying that, and that's not a bad thing. He at least is consistent.
Well, the big story of the day here from Titans training camp, off the field, of course, is that Ramon Foster got his Twitter back.
I did.
This
You
is
can
correct.
unfollow the Ramon Foster. You can refollow at Ramon Foster. His
The big Ramon
81.9 thousand followers are once again now given content and not just an empty timeline.
It's clear that Twitter was on vacation over the summer.
His last tweet
long
literally
vacation.
was wishing Brett Kern a happy retirement
On like June 2nd.
from the old account in June of
Long time.
2023. In fact, Jarvis Schaefer was still managing the account because we still had tweet notifications on for you, because that's one thing that Julius used to do. He would turn on tweet notifications for all three of us. That way, every time we tweeted, the account would be notified. When I started tweeting for that account, I got so sick of that within about 3 tweets that I disabled all of that. But I had not disabled it yet for at Ramon Foster, considering you hadn't tweeted it.
Hey, y'all have faith in me. Y'all said I was going to get it back. I didn't know when.
I told you. I was like, just keep keeping the faith, man. Be
It's
patient.
too big of a website and
Be
too big of a
patient.
platform to not have somebody working. They don't have a lot of people working that know what they're doing. but they've
Eventually,
got
a
some.
bot did not see it.
I'm making a fuss about it because it helps our job. And the
Everybody
exposure and everything else that comes behind it, man. So that's more
He
or less
also
what
wants.
it was.
He wants to win a draft too. You know.
Well, I won one.
That will help.
I won one. Two. Won two.
You were right for a little bit.
Oh, for a little bit.
Coming up, the Buck Rising Show takes over here from Titans training camp. He will be underneath this tent coming up very shortly. Buck has spoken with Jeffery Simmons about their heated discussion, I will call it, yesterday. Buck says that all is well and it is time to move on. So you'll hear his official comments on that coming up here very shortly. We are back at it tomorrow in studio once again. The RKW Draft will be back. We will have Coach Mack at 7:20. Fun will be had by all. 6 to 10 tomorrow morning. Ramon Foster sent us home.
Hey, y'all must
At Ramon Foster sent us home.
At Ramon Foster. Okay, your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot. I think we learned that lesson, hadn't we? Peace.